too late.
Alrighty.
Here's Sebastian.
Excuse me.
Goodness.
Right. So depending on how people are vibing, I don't have anything technically set up, but I find this is quite a good playlist to
Oh, hell
get in the vibe of things.
Oh,
Nice.
fucking walk amongst it.
Well, I think it'd be rude not to.
Amongst it.
Confused. Oh.
All good, Steve?
Yes.
Yep.
Are we playing in a room or anything?
Just in
Or
one
just-
shot times. We're just here.
Yeah, we're not like in a map thing. We're just playing through Discord.
No, it's just gonna be Discord. Yeah, just Discord and
Yep.
rule and just Mind's Eye Theater. Yeah. Don't have any maps or anything. Yeah. All right. Have you got you set up? You think?
Yep.
Everyone's cool.
I'm ready.
Easy. So as I touched on briefly, I think with Ben and stuff. So things like combat. Essentially, you've got your. Well, I'll take a step back. So regular skill checks are D20 plus your skill. 20 plus, you've succeeded. Essentially. If it's something that you're doing that I reckon is a bit easier, I might lower that DC to something like 15, depending on what you're rolling and what we're trying to do and the context. If it's a risk, it's something that has risk but is relatively easy, I might make it like 15 or something like that, or depending, right? But generally, rule is D20 plus skill, 20 or more succeed. Equals beats, generally. Only relevant in contested. Contested is just a flat out D20 plus skill versus D20 plus skill. Doesn't matter if you roll high or low. So it's kind of like Warhammer in that you can sort of win a fight, but there's no missing essentially in the sense of you either hit on or you don't kind of thing. In the way combat works, it's a bit more sort of fast paced, brutal. But it also means if say you're fighting a monster and you roll to hit them and you roll 15 and they roll 14, well then you hit them and you do the damage. But say they then hit you back and they roll 14 and you roll 15, you get to hit them and do damage again.
Okay. So every time you attack, there's a chance you get hit.
That's right. But if you're attacking, you get +5 to the attack roll. That's the other thing. Everything gets +5 to the attack roll. So attacking is being proactive is good in combat, but if you're a good defender or good with a skill, you've got a high chance of doing extra damage to who you're fighting. Stamina is obviously his health, but it's stamina. It's not like bleeding and death. It's as your stamina gets reduced, nothing really happens. But when you hit 0, any damage beyond 0, you take a critical injury, and that gets very close to death quite quickly. Yep. Most of there's a bunch of crit tables, but essentially once you're past once you hit 10 points past 0, you're basically dying on any of the crit rolls. Yeah. The way I've ruled it with armor, as I was saying with Ben, is if the book specified you've got a set amount of armor, then that's what we're going to go with, rather than being because it's sort of like if you have medium armor plus a shield counts to put you up 1 tier of armor.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in a lot of the context we've got so far is it's sort of when you've got a new character, it's kind of factoring that in already. So breastplate plus a shield is medium. If it was like breastplate and helmet, that'd probably be medium, plus a shield would probably take you to heavy.
Cool.
And then armor reduces damage taken. But it's a dice roll system, and that's how I want to play it. So it's going to be, say, light armor is D3, medium armor is D6, heavy armor is 2D6 in terms of reduction, and it'll be rolled at the time though to represent them hitting you either in the armor or not in the armor. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I think so. We've got. Have you got a character sheet yet? Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, do you need it?
If you could, yeah, that'd be handy. Just because I've
Yeah,
got them all
I
up here so I can
save
have a
that.
look. Yeah. Cheers.
Um,
As I said, Ben, I'm happy to stream if you want to, but whatever.
Yeah. Cool. Well, all right. Let me just press some buttons, and we'll make that happen.
Fair enough.
okay. That's just so I can add it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just tell me if it's actually got information in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I have to send it.
Where is that?
I sent it as a PM through Discord.
Oh, okay, cool. There we go. Yeah, sweet. Great.
Is it
Excellent.
full? Yeah.
Yep, perfect. Yep. Excellent. Okay, so we have got. Does anyone feel like introducing themselves? Actually, before you introduce themselves, I might introduce the setting if we're all good to go.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's sitting comfortably.
Everyone is
Very.
ready to go.
Oh,
Fantastic.
man, now.
That's it. All right. Cool. Great. Let me get my. Won't need dice for a bit, but that's all good. Okay. So, high to the north, along the Black Road, a wind begins to stir, bringing with it the reek of mountain pines and the rotting scent of death for the recent battles and wars fought there. As it swirls and eddies across the plains further south, and it brings in the sort of smells of cooking fires and townships and things on its way past. It goes past some scattered wizards' towers on lonely rocky outcrops with crackling lightning and energy filling the air, and still the wind whisks on. Eventually, it kind of rising to a crescendo as it snaps and cracks at the banners atop the keep of Krishnapur Castle, Krishnapur being the capital of the great kingdom. And the king is holding his court, for he is about to declare a great proclamation. As it gusts in great downdrafts from the lofty heights of the towers, it scatters the songs and shouts of the citizens that go about their day, and it takes perfumes and silks from the markets, and shit and pigsty stink, and midden pits, and filth and detritus as it works its way down lower and lower throughout the scummier, grosser parts of the city. Eventually settling around your nostrils, and you can sort of take it all in and realize that this very much is indeed Krishnapur. And you and just about everyone else in the kingdom seems to have decided to be here to witness the king's proclamation. Does anyone feel like introducing their character now?
Hello. No,
Oh.
you go first. You go first. I'm getting a
Wait,
drink.
you had the voice, though. Now I feel bad.
That's all right. I'm still working on it in my head.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm Huxley Wolf. I am but a humble man, a humble road warden. I work the road with my best friend, my horse.
And what's your horse's name?
I forgot to give it a name.
So what's your horse's
I
name?
will name him a horse.
A horse. Excellent.
A horse.
Great.
His name
And-
is a horse. I live on the road, sometimes in a tent, other times in the towers where I do my work.
And where were you
That's-
prior to this? Because so you're obviously not based
Well-
in the capital. You don't live here, do you? You
No,
would have
I
born here
have
for the proclamation
traveled.
and possibly something else.
I've travelled all round. I've travelled the Pomperberg Road, which was
Indeed.
full of deserters. And I've seen many a thing. such as unmen in the forests, watching.
Indeed.
You can't see my eyebrows right now, but they are raised.
I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. Unmen being like beastmen and such.
Defiled by gross magics.
Indeed. Excellent. Have you come to the capital to witness the proclamation, or do you think you're searching for something else, or you're not sure yet?
I'm just a simple road warden. I'm sure I will not be pulled into any adventures this day. I am here as part of my duties, and I'm just kind of walking around. It's my day off.
Yeah.
I'm just here in the
Bit
capital.
of a physical description.
I think he's quite a big guy. I think.
Yep.
He is a tall man. He's like I guess like a big wrestler guy. Like he looks very intimidating when you look at him, but he's always got like a smile on his face, and he's always like petting his horse.
Okay.
So he's almost like a gentle giant until you cross him, because
Sure.
he also has like a pole arm with him at all times.
Nice. Sort of age, hair color, eye color, any distinguishing features?
I want to say he's probably he's probably quite young, actually. He's probably like, late 20s, maybe mid 20s.
All right.
He's got like black hair, bowl cut, as you do.
Excellent. Yep.
Yeah.
Peasant cut, real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's just a humble road warden,
Perfect. Well, we'll flash back briefly before he'd arrived on his horse into the city in the past week, and he was on the Pomperberg Road, keeping his watchful eye, beady eye on deserters, making sure that they were not causing too much trouble. They weren't deciding to turn to brigandry or
Hello, are you a brigand?
other such things. But then, on a rainy evening, just before the sun had set, so it was still a little bit light, but it was starting to grow pretty gloomy. You saw a small group of huddled figures sort of darting down the road, and they'd stop maybe every 20 or 30 paces and sort of look around frantically, quickly hop down into the ditch beside the side of the road, and they'd wait a couple of minutes, and they'd hop back up again, and they'd race down the road again, fast as their little legs could take them, and then they'd do the same thing, look around frantically, hop back in the ditch, wait a couple of minutes, hop back up again, go again, etc.
Does that seem like human or like a beast?
There's a small group of them. They're smaller than humans. But they're cloaked and swaddled.
Well, I fucking doubt they have their papers. I want to think he's probably like... He probably doesn't approach them until they try to, come too close to passing down the road.
Yeah. Where would you be sitting? Just right by the side of the road? Are you in a town? Where would you have been? Where would Huxley be plying his trade as a road warden?
Yeah, as I understand it, usually they like literally just are on the road, just blocking the path for anyone who wants to come down it. So he's probably got his tent set up nearby, and he's just standing there, with his horse.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, with his pole arm out, just waiting.
Yeah.
Very eagerly.
Okay, very eager. So you just open plain sight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No hiding whatsoever.
Perfect. Great. All right. Could you make me a spot test, please?
Oh yes, I never thought you'd ask. Okay, so that's roll with. So is it just 1d20 roll?
It should be d20 plus your spot skill.
Okay, plus.
Very quickly, Ben, in the test chat, how do I actually do the same thing?
You should be able to
Roll
do.
and then try to hit tab and then.
So if you just go slash and then start typing roll, it should come up as an option.
There we go. Got it better. Okay, there we go. Worked better. Okay.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay. So as you're standing there, peering at them, and they've ducked down into the ditch again. They're maybe 50 meters away from you, but again in the rain and the gloom, it's a little bit hard to sort of see. And so you're standing there and you're waiting waiting, and you're looking very eagerly, very open, slightly gormless.
I'm sure
Rain's
they'll come
dripping down
nearby
your
to the
hood.
road. I think I've gone through 4 accents already.
Dripping down,
You're allowed.
and you're waiting, and then it's maybe 10 minutes go by, and you think, hang on, if they were going at the same pace, like if they were doing the same thing, they would have come to you. They would have crossed your path by now.
Hmm.
But you haven't seen them.
Can I look around a bit? See if they're behind me already?
Yeah,
If they snuck around?
You can. So you'll start sort of searching around the area.
Hmm.
Yep, excellent. Make another spot check for me. Add +5 to this.
Oh, don't even need it. So that would be 30.
Excellent. Cool. So just as you kind of step back, you look down into the ditch just as you're stepping over it, and there's 5 figures in cloaks kind of crawling along the ground. 2 slightly larger ones and 3 slightly smaller ones. They don't seem to have noticed that you've seen them. They're sort of right, they look like they're clearly wearing a cloak. It's clearly a hooded cloak pulled up, but they've you can't really see their hands and legs. They're just kind of really slowly, commando crawling.
Yeah. I figure I would, walk on over and then put my pole arm into the dirt in front of them and be like, can't be crossing the road unless you got somewhere to be.
But as you plant the sort of, are you putting the weapon the pointy end, or are you putting the half?
No, this is the business end where it's flat and wooden.
A halberdy thing, a blade.
So I've got my
blade
humble...
first in front of them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So on doing that, the lead figure screams and throws back his head and rolls over onto his back and just goes, "Oh, please, mister, please spare us. Oh, we've got naught left since the bandits burned our village. Oh, it's just me and me family. We're just trying to sneak by and we had no idea whether you were some kind of brigand looking to steal our last little bit left, and we figured you must have seen us, and so we tried to hide, and oh, please forgive us, I've got nothing left. Don't hurt me, kids, at least. Oh." And you see it's a halfling family who are all there trying to sneak past, and obviously that's what's happened.
It caught my eye as a humble...
And the rain's dripping into his eyes, and he's sort of writhing around quite pathetically in the mud.
Is there anyone watching right now as I look around?
No.
That I can see?
No.
Okay. I am going to invoke my trait, warm-hearted.
Excellent.
Okay, good.
I look at the halfling children. I'm like, well, can't be having that now, can we? And I'll just step back and be like, on your way then.
Oh, bless you. I don't suppose you might let us dry off inside your tent for a moment. Or by your fire.
Don't fucking push your luck, laddie.
We've got some tea we could share.
No, I'm fucking Irish for some reason.
I was going to say, you've gone pan UK now.
That's it.
My character is every character that has a vaguely
Anywhere
Northern
that
Irish
there's
accent.
a road.
No, I'll be very, very strict and trying to be like, no, 'tis my job. Be on your way.
Well, bless your kind soul anyway. Thank you very much. And they sort of get themselves out of the mud and kind of dry off a little bit, and they sort of creep up to the side of the road and hunch right back over and sort of start scurrying along and ducking down and looking around again, and then scurrying along, and they go off into the evening. And then you spend the rest of the night in relative peace. Nothing more happens. No bands of brigands or no deserters today.
I like the idea that I'm literally just standing in the rain, very dutifully being like, love to be a road warden.
That's it. So, can you roll a d3 for me, please?
Yes, I can.
Alex, I also sent you a PM with like the shortest, most brief description of my character.
Awesome.
Like
Just
it's a line.
Yep, I love it.
a whole 3.
Excellent.
The
Okay,
highest
so
possible number.
it's
Ooh.
good. So that is the number of advances you get to make. So you get
What?
3 points to put into any of your career skills.
Ooh. Okay.
And if you increase your career skill, Road Warden, because you can manually increase that now, that also increases your stamina by 1.
Ooh.
You can distribute it however you like, it doesn't matter, but you can put up to 3 points, spread it across any of your career skills.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So while you're doing that, so we sort of flash forward back in time to you arriving down the road into the capital of Krishnapur, and sort of winding your way up through the streets a bit. And so we'll cut across now to who would like to go next.
My name is Lucian Sharp the Third. My family was quite original.
Indeed.
I have quite a pointed nose.
Yep.
Longish black hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's like slicked back.
Are you saying that you're a stereotypical like baddie wizard?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you have a goatee?
No facial hair.
Okay.
Got a slight hunch to him. Leans on his cane a bit. But he's quite young, maybe like in his early 20s.
Yeah, just part of his act, part of his sort of
Part of the mystique.
imagery. Yep.
Yeah. And
Does he have lots of embroidery on his robes or anything like that, or a cloak or anything embellished as a wizard, or is he more just wearing posh clothes because he's upper class?
Bit more posh clothes. Like there's some like yellow or golden embroidery on his cloak.
Nice.
But he doesn't really like to give away too much that he's a wizard.
Yep.
Interesting.
My job in Pomperberg, it had been completed, and I am on to the next one.
Excellent. So Pomperberg being a slightly smaller city, but obviously is a bit further north, and further north from Pomperberg was the Black Road, which passes into the mountains to the north, and that's where the great battles are happening. Hence why there have been lots of deserters and such. But there's also nobles and wizards and all sorts of other mysterious things going on.
What was the capital's name?
Krishnapur is the capital.
I mean, my family is from Krishnapur, so I am returning home, you could say.
Cool, excellent. So you've come back for your own reasons, and
Yes.
traveling down here has been good. But as obviously we know, you left in a hurry. Now, obviously, that's more of a private thing. So let's cut to you in your hasty departure from Pomperberg.
Yep.
So where would you envisage you were? Were you with your wizard that was teaching you, or were you leaving a state for something else?
From Pomperberg?
Yeah.
So I had a task to complete while I was there. I was feigning studies as a wizard, and I have acquired what I needed from there.
Excellent.
And I was getting out before I found out what I've taken.
Indeed. So we'll cut to that, and we'll obviously try and keep it as mysterious as we can. But about maybe a week prior, we'd have a look at. I've set you a PM as well about a thing, by the way. We'll cut to a week prior, and you find yourself standing in one of the chambers of the noble estate that you were visiting.
Yep.
In Pomperberg, having just achieved your task.
Okay.
And out of the sort of just as you're spinning around, you can hear that there are some servants returning back to the room. It's like it's kind of the way I envisage it. It's quite a long room, maybe 20, 30 meters long, fairly narrow, one of these sort of corridor rooms, like wood panelled, and there's kind of like major rooms at either end of this big long corridor. You've got windows all behind you, second floor.
When I hear them coming, I like straight to my back, and it like cracks a couple of times.
Yep.
And then I like kind of put my chest out and I just walk past the servants.
All right. Excellent.
And like as if
they just bow as appropriately as they possibly can.
Yeah, and I now that I've got it, I'm like feeling the item in my pocket, and I just keep walking, heading out, trying to act like I should be here.
That's it. So you go a little bit further, and you sort of round the corner, you go down, you sort of make it into one of the main, not the grand staircase, but one of the main staircases, and you hear a crash as one of the servants drops a tray behind you. You're too far away to hear them kind of like gasp, but you definitely hear a crashing of something dropped to the ground in shock.
I'll pull out like a what looks like a pocket watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got the watch on one side, and the top side of it is a mirror.
Yep.
And I'm gonna just look at it as if I'm looking at the time and try and look over my shoulder as to what happened.
Yeah. You don't see anything for the minute, but you start hearing. In fact, can you make me a? No, actually, you're just going to start hearing it. So you can start hearing like a sort of soft bell, like quite a deep bell, but you recognize it as like it's the kind of bell that a servant would use to summon other servants.
Okay.
Or to like it's a sort of like house alert sort of system, for the servants' quarters down their corridors and stuff, and it's ringing. It's a fairly low pitch, but it's muted because it's it's inside a corridor behind tapestries and stuff. You don't know exactly where it is, but it's ringing quite frantically, and you're starting to hear more shuffling and things and doors opening, and sort of down the hall you hear one of the doors kind of bangs open suddenly, and chairs start scraping, and
I am not running, but I'm like quickening my pace, but trying to remain like this is like power walking kind of thing.
Yeah, walking faster than normal pace, but not so fast that it looks weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Could you make for me I think a streetwise roll, thanks.
Yep. 10 total.
Yeah. Okay. So you do this. You sort of snap this mirror shut, put it in your pocket, and sort of walk out of there quite briskly. That you actually miss. You don't notice that just as you round the corner, like you sort of you got down to the bottom of the stairs and you go into the next room, and you're almost through the room when because you're just sort of walking a bit too quickly and not really you obviously mind's elsewhere. You hear something. Lucian, you're going so soon?
Just
the Baron Chest is Chestnut is sort of half sitting up from his brandy as he's sitting in one of his drawing rooms downstairs.
Oh, Baron, just getting some fresh air. I'll be back shortly.
Oh, nonsense! I'll get the dogs and we'll go for a walk. I don't know why my voice has changed there, but that's what I'm doing.
Oh, no, I've got a lot on my mind. I would rather be alone if that's all right.
I suppose, but at least get one of the footmen to go with you off the side. You see, it's with some of these deserters coming through from the north and the battle and such. Occasionally they're crossing into the grounds, and we've had a few times where they've caused a bit of a ruckus.
Yes, despicable folk. I will do as you say.
Excellent. And so he just stands up and he grabs a small silver bell from a tray next to him and just rings that. And then sort of moments later, a door opens from a sort of hidden panelled wall, and one of the footmen steps out.
I just do
green and silver livery of Baron Chestnut.
I just do like with 2 fingers, like follow me.
Yep.
Towards him. Accompany me, sir.
he nods his head respectfully and falls in line. He's as a weapon, he's carrying it's a walking stick in that it's that he can walk with, but it's quite a bit thicker than and heavier than a normal walking stick would be. Like clearly intended as a club.
Yeah.
But is socially acceptable to sort of walk around with a weapon.
So yeah, I start heading out with the guard.
Why are we heading to the stables, Lucian? My lord.
Oh, it's I love horses. I just thought I would see them.
Very well, of course.
It
Shall I have you wait here, and I'll
clearly.
bring one out? I can have the grooms bring them out to you if you'd like.
I mean, you can wait here. I will go and have a look if that is okay.
Could you make a persuasion roll for me, please?
Oh fuck! I've done it again.
Hang on.
And I rolled the wrong dice as well. Oh no, I didn't. +7. There we go. 15.
Alright. Hang on, sorry, mine's being weird, sorry. Why is this? Sorry, Ben, can you have a quick look and test for me?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing wrong? Clap roll, click roll the die, and then I put in D20 plus a number.
Did you put any spaces in between them?
Yeah.
Don't put spaces between them.
Okay.
Yeah. So for example, if I just do D20 plus 5, it should
There we go. Okay.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Great. So very well. I'll wait here, and you can go and inspect the horses if you like, and I'm happy to run alongside if you're wanting to go for a sort of small ride, as appropriate, my lord. Bows his head again.
Oh no, I will not be going for a ride. I just want to clear my head, and the horses help me do this.
Very well.
And I'll go into the stables.
Yep.
Can I get out of the castle grounds from here? Like, if I just go through the stables and walk out?
Not quite, not straight away. There isn't a door straight out of the stables, but there are some options, right? So obviously you could grab a horse and try and bolt.
Yes.
You could try and climb out a window. But there are some windows. They're a bit higher up. They're not going to be an easy climb, but they're not impossible. Or I guess you could try and potentially disguise yourself as a groom or something like that. You could sort of fudge it. Or I guess you could go more violent and attack the guy, try to knock him out or surprise him, whatever. There's a few different things you could try.
That's like the last ditch effort.
Of course.
Is there any? There wouldn't be.
What are you thinking? Because I'm happy to work with you, right? That's.
Yeah. So I put points into medicine in the thought that it's not for actually healing.
Yeah.
For sleeping potions or poisons and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is it possible that I have a sleeping concoction of some variety
There
on
might
me?
not be there, but in the stables, there probably is some medicine for horses.
Yes.
And you could quite possibly, I don't know, make up a tea or offer some water or something like that.
Yeah. Is there chloroform?
Nah.
I don't think there would be anything like that they use on a horse, straight up.
No, but you go into the stables. There's not just the stables. There's also a small carriage house at the end. And for maintaining the carriages and the paint and the wheels and such, there's all sorts of interesting chemicals and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, you could, if that's something you're thinking of, you could absolutely come up with something like that. I'd be happy for you to just do that.
Okay, so I'm gonna get some sort of strong chemical like a lacquer or something on a rag.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna hang it up right next to the door. and I'm gonna walk out again and say, "Oh, Sir Guard, there seems to be something weird going on in the coach room. Can you come here?"
Of course, my lord.
And then I'm going, when he comes over, I say, "Just through there, there seems to be something stashed there."
Are you sure? He kind of shuffles forward.
And as soon
you,
as he
you
enters,
beat him quite handily on the persuade roll before, by the way. Just like it was
Okay.
it was a contested roll, so yeah.
So as soon as he enters into the room, I'm going to say, "Yes, just under the carriage there," and grab the rag and then try and smother him with it.
Yeah. Can you make a brawling roll?
Oh, great.
It's contested. It's contested, so it doesn't matter if it's shit because his might be shit too. Add 5 to it.
Okay.
Because he's not expecting it, and you have a chemical rag that you're going to hold against his face. Like,
So 18.
Okay. All right. So you sort of lean forward and grab your hand and wrap this, stick this thing on his face, and he just sort of like he seems to kind of sway from it, sort of, and coughs and splutters, and he goes, "What?" and stands up suddenly, bangs his head on the carriage, and is kind of startled and not. He's not like stunned or knocked out, but he's not knocked out. He's not. He kind of.
But he's like seeing stars for a second.
He's seeing stars. He's not really aware of what's going on, except that you or something tried to sort of assault him, knock him out, but also he doesn't really know.
Yeah, I'll pull my dagger out of my cloak, and then with the handle, not the blade, try and crack him in the temple with it.
Cool. Yep. So go for a small blade attack.
Yeah.
Actually, go for a blunt attack. Sorry, go for blunt because you're using it as a blunt weapon. You're trying to actually club him. Go for blunt attack for me again. Contested, but again, as you're attacking, you always add +5.
Oh yeah. 23.
Cool. Yeah, you just clunk into him in the head.
Yeah.
He's not able to dodge. Can you roll me a 1d6, please?
Five.
Cool. Yeah, pretty much. That knocks him out.
All right. I will keep the rag handy on me. Is he wearing full on armor, or is he just in
he's in servant's clothes.
All right.
They're sort of fairly fancy, green sort of button-up tunic with silver thread embroidery in the sort of liveried style. A little bit of padding in the chest, but it's not really armors. It's more just decorative sort of padding quilting. And then he's got his club stick sort of thing, but he'd rest that down outside.
I look at him and I go to open my mouth, and then I just shrug and I turn around and walk over to the horses.
Yep.
And I'm not the best rider, but I get up and
you know how to ride. You get on the horse and you ride, and you ride off into a star wipe into being in the capital.
Yep.
Presumably back at your family's estate.
Yes, it would be.
Excellent. Yep. So you're at your family's estate. Now you've so could you roll a d3 for me?
Yep. 1.
Okay. So you get 1 advance.
Yep.
But I'm also, as a wizard, I'm going to let you choose 1 more spell.
Okay.
Representative of whatever.
In addition, or
stolen. Yeah, you get an advance, and I'm going to let you take another spell as well, which is relative of either what you've stolen or what you've managed to get.
Yeah.
learn since coming back into the capital.
So it's some sort of like documentation on Baron Chestnut.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'll probably choose silence.
Perfect. Great. All right, so we will cut now across to Simon. Now, tragically, but also I'm going to quickly check on her. Steph's not suddenly taken ill, so Sebastian Barnacle might join in as an NPC. I suspect.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna quickly check on her because she's just quite not well.
Yep.
But then we'll do your introduction.
Yeah,
again,
by all
if that's
means.
Cool.
That's no good. Yeah, so Sam got put a post on for noobs to play Commander, like they haven't played before.
Yeah.
And it started like 4 people and it ended up being like 13 or 14 people.
Yeah, right.
So there's in Midland there's a place called the Dice Club.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so they're going there. Last weekend the podcast that she's a part of, Nobody Wake the Bugbear, did a live show at the Dice Club.
Nice.
So she went and did that. And I got a Commander Precon out of it, so it wasn't... Got way too many of those though. I got 10 at the moment, Precons. Yeah, it's unnecessary. Especially because I don't even use them. I just take cards out of them.
You're just like, listen, I don't need anything more. Unless.
It's like, I just add them to the collection and then I build decks and I'm like, oh shit, like 20 cards or so are from Precons. So I just pull them all out and then Sam's like, oh, I want them all to take. And I'm like, fuck. So I have to like try and put them all back together again. Most of them are from I got the Chaos Space Marine one, the Ruinous Powers, and I took so many demons out of it. My commander, I use his Be'lakor.
I'll be back in a sec.
Okay.
He's pretty good. Like when he enters play, deals X damage to you, but you draw X cards equal to the number of demons you control.
Oh, that's classic demons. Just being
Yeah.
like, hey, yeah, there were one. Now there's more. You're like, how are there more? I killed you. It's like, yeah, you did. But now there's more.
His other one is like whenever I play a demon, he deals damage equal to that demon's power to any target. So, and then I just have like a bunch of fucking massive demons in the deck.
Oh, there's always got to be like at least one. Like I can only assume there's like a bunch of 7/7s.
Oh yeah.
I'm just flying around.
I got 8/8, 7/7, 6/6s. I got a lot of 8/8s actually.
All right, I'm back, guys. Sorry, thanks for that.
That's all right.
And I don't know whether it's something Steph ate for dinner or just isn't feeling well, but she's not super well.
Taking a turn.
She's just going to chill downstairs, so she's going to drop out. Yeah, I'm a bit. Yeah. I'm just hurry. I hope it wasn't something I cooked for dinner, and I'm going to be sick in a minute, but I don't think so. I'm feeling okay, so.
Okay.
We will push on for now, if that's all right.
Okay.
It's usually like it's probably like a lunchtime thing. It takes like a couple of hours to get into the stomach.
Yeah, that's what I would have figured. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll come back into it. We're here. Sebastian Barnacle will feature, but maybe not quite as much as we'd initially hoped. If that's okay. So, Simon. Simon Gunnison, a dwarf mercenary,
Hey,
has arrived in the capital. Heard the stories, heard what people are saying about the king and the great proclamation. Has arrived here, carrying with him the hardened visage of a hardened fighting man.
he's got a slightly haunted look to his eyes. He's the last few battles that he has fought has I guess shocked his sense of honor, and he's a little bit haunted by previous battles, particularly the massacre of the town of Vissen.
Indeed. Which we will cut to now.
All right.
And in the distance, Gunnison looks out across a field, smoke stinging his eyes. Others of his company, the honest chosen, around him, getting ready for their bloody work. You can hear there's a town bell ringing in the distance as he looks out on Vissen, a small hamlet to the east of the capital. They've spotted you, and they're mustering, ready to repel. What does Simon do?
Would I know the reason why our mercenary company is attacking this hamlet?
Well, allegedly, is it? Yeah, the reason you've been told by your commanding officers, is that, and I don't imagine you're like a complete grunt recruit nobody.
No,
but you're not a decision maker.
No, I think
you're a sensible head, and you're a sort of sergeant in a way that there's guys that listen to you.
Yeah, that's sort of where I imagine, like a little bit seasoned, not necessarily an officer, but if push came to shove, I could lead a few men.
That's you've got some mates who'd follow you if you told them what was what.
Yeah.
But you're certainly not making any decisions, negotiating contracts on a company-wide scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you've been in other bands before as well, and you may have led little bands and stuff in the past, so you've got some experience. But yeah,
like a
so
squad, that kind of thing.
That's it, exactly. So you've been told essentially that the town essentially stands. It's a fight between nobles.
Mm-hmm.
Vissen is one of the producing towns for the rival noble, essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
And so you've been hired to go in there, shake the place down, essentially sort of like weaken them so that the other noble can come and take it. You don't even remember the nobles' names.
Yeah. It's not important. As long as the money comes in.
That's what you were told. That's it.
I guess I'll wander over to my commanding officer and says, it looks like we've been spotted.
Of course. But that's just townsfolk.
Aye.
Is that going to stop the honest chosen? Is it, lads?
Aye. We'll give him what
turns
for.
around and gestures, and there's a bit of a raucous laugh from the rest of them. Majority dwarves, but there's a mix of humans and halflings as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll ready my crossbow.
All right. Excellent. You see the sort of townsfolk doing similarly. Mm-hmm. Most of them are armed in sort of pitchforks and like farming tools, rakes and the like. There's maybe only 4 or 5 of them. You can see a couple a bit further inside have got bows. Yep. They're not big, powerful war bows. They're kind of like hunting bows.
Yeah.
They might take down small game. Maybe a deer if you're a really good shot.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna be punching through your breastplate.
All right. These look to be simple farming folk. Is this straight?
That's what we were paid for.
Right, I suppose that's true.
You're not paid to ask questions now, are you, Simon?
No, you're quite right.
You're paid put down this rebellion, as it was told to me. These folk are supposed to be under the service of Lord. Oh, what was his name? It doesn't matter.
Hey.
So forward, lads.
All right.
Push the town until they surrender.
Cool. Well, I guess I will start moving forward with the rest of the mercenary company.
That's it. Yep.
Crossbow raised and aiming for a shot.
Yep. Okay. Cool. I mean, you quit. I mean, you guys are sort of moving forwards as a fairly drilled unit. There's a few of you got crossbows. The rest of them got shields up, and they're sort of marching in methodically, not too cautiously.
Yep.
A couple of arrows come out from the town at you guys, but not. They're sort of falling a bit short.
Yep.
Still, you're confident your crossbow's in range.
Cool. Shall I take a shot?
I don't know. Shall you?
I'm going to do more of a warning shot, I think. I'm going to try and put a shot, I don't know, maybe at like the foot of one of the bowmen, just to try and like warn them that we're definitely in range and we mean business.
Cool.
So
just if you roll a 1, right, on the 20, then something bad will happen.
Sure.
Just so you know.
Okay, well...
But absolutely, go for it. Roll a shot.
24.
Yeah, you managed. You perfectly. Like you actually see there's a better shot. There's a guy who's kind of like standing by a door in like outside, just about to come out, and you sort of see that he's about to come out, and he sort of seems to be bringing like a spear with him or something, and you ping it right into the door just in front of him.
Yeah.
Like you just see him right there, and you just go poof, just thuds into the door in front of him, and he slams the door shut and goes back inside.
Yeah. Fantastic. Cool.
The group keep marching forwards. There's some more yells. There's some more frantic bell ringing, and then there's some clashes a bit further ahead of you on the sort of left. You're sort of in about the middle of the line.
Yep.
On the left-hand flank, some of your guys, more advanced guys, have rushed forwards to engage, and they're sort of fighting away at each other with, pitchforks and rakes and simple sort of, by spears I mean like sharpened sticks.
Yeah.
Versus mercenaries in patchy chainmail and brigandines and stuff.
Yep. All right. If we're getting closer, I will sling my crossbow across my shoulder and bring out my sword and shield.
Great. Can you make for me a dodge roll, please?
Sure. Where is my dodge skill? There. Plus 16.
Nice. A shot pings off your shield.
Cool.
And flings over your head.
All right. Yep.
And you sort of, as you peer around the shield, you see a sort of slightly taller, slightly arrogant-looking young guy standing a bit further back, and he does have a bigger bow.
Yep.
It's still not a proper longbow like a war bow, but this guy's obviously maybe the village hunter, or just he knows what he's doing a bit more.
Yeah.
Sort
Okay.
of can recognize that.
Looking over my shield at him, I'll make I'll do two things. I'll do a crude gesture with my sword hand,
Naturally.
and I'll make to head for this hunter character.
Okay, perfect. Yep. So yeah, around you, there's more clashing and stuff, and at this stage, the mercenaries seem to be they're fighting to wound and not kill at this stage. They're they're certainly trying to beat in the back, and you see the sort of peasants are coming back again. So as you're closing in, can you make another dodge for me?
Sure.
Just fucking realised what I should have done.
Oh dear.
That guy. Oh well.
What was it?
I should have fucking killed him and then throw my clothes and put blood everywhere like I had been killed as well. Oh well.
That's all right. All right. So this time, it's not quite quick enough, and the arrow thuds into you.
Yep.
So it is. So it does 11 damage.
Cool. So
And now roll your d6.
Yep.
This is your armor.
Oops, D6.
Missed all of that.
5.
Nice. Cool.
So I take
Excellent.
6
So
wounds.
yeah,
Or
So you take six stamina damage.
Yep.
Yeah. So the arrow thuds into like the top corner of your breastplate, like you had your shield in front of you, but he managed to ping your like sword arm shoulder.
Yeah, okay.
So there's some padding under your breastplate, and the corner of the breastplate took the most of it, but it still stings and kind of jars against your shoulder.
Yep.
Yeah.
He'll pay for
Yeah.
that, laddie.
So he just starts. He makes a rude gesture back at you with his bow hand, with his like shooting hand.
Yeah.
And sort of makes ready for another arrow. You could probably make a bit of a charge run and get to him.
Yep.
By the time he's about to loose a shot.
Yep. I'm definitely doing that.
Perfect. Okay. Cool. So just as you're about to get him, he puts another shot in, but not at you.
Okay.
You realize because you're maybe like 3 or 4 meters. Like you couldn't quite jump and get him, but like he's putting another shot, but not at you because he realizes that you're close and you're a dwarf and you've got a shield and like there's not a lot of you to hit when you're that close. Kind of thing. You know that it's he could put it point blank, but it's going to bounce back at him, and he's just thinking, and he sees clearly he's seen something else.
Yeah.
And as he puts the shot in, you kind of hear a cry behind you.
Yep.
But it's up to you what happens next.
I think I'm going to engage this ranger character first, and then I'll turn around and inspect who he was that he shot afterwards.
Yep, excellent. Okay, cool. So yep, you can make an attack at him.
Cool. I will do a large blade attack.
Yep.
D20. Nope, that's not how that works. 24.
Did you? You can actually add 5 to that. So
okay, so that'll be 29.
Because you're attacking. Yeah, nice. That's his roll back, by the way, to defend, because he drops his bow.
Yep.
Kicks up a quarterstaff from the ground.
Yep.
And in catching it, tries to parry you.
Yep.
Doesn't quite manage, and you catch him solidly. So roll your damage.
Now what do I do again? I think it's
2d6 plus 1.
2d6 plus nothing. 2d6.
2d6. 2d6. Yep.
Yeah, 2d6. Okay.
2d6. Arming sword is 2d6. Yep.
Eight.
Right. Excellent. So you sort of chop solidly into the staff, and kind of the momentum carries you through into his body.
Yeah.
He's actually not wearing any armor.
Okay.
But you don't cut into his body so much, but you just sort of like slash into his clothes. He's got, a tunic and an undershirt on and stuff. It's actually quite hard to cut into fabric with a sharp sword.
Yeah.
Just straight like that, particularly when he sort of half parries it. But you catch him properly in the guts, and he kind of like stumbles back and staggers back a bit from it.
Yep.
And now he's going to swing at you, basically.
Great.
He's fighting you.
So do I roll my is it dodge that I'm rolling here?
Yeah. Well, it's up to you. So you could roll dodge, and I'd be happy for you to add +5 to use your shield, but you won't do any damage to him if you do that. Or if you roll your large blade again,
I can
and you
do
win,
damage. Yeah, I understand.
Then you'll be doing damage.
Cool.
Yep.
I will use my sword, I think.
Yep.
Oh, not as good.
Equals beats, so he does. Actually, no, you're the player, so no, you managed to parry him.
Cool. So 2d6 again.
That's it.
2d6.
So the player wins ties.
Basically, effectively, player wins ties. Yep. Nice, cool. So yeah, you whack into him again. He's looking a lot harder, but you sort of you take that on your shield, thrust it back at his head. So in the sort of roaring melee, you start hearing this kind of like more aggressive shouts coming back from the kind of command area, and you seem to feel like. Can you give me a mercenary test?
Yeah, sure. I was going to say, can I use my mercenary skill to like sort of pivot the fight in a way so I can see what's going on behind my combat?
Yeah, do that.
D20 plus. Oh dear, that's terrible. What a terrible roll.
No, so not really. No, the opposite's happened, and you've just got this kind of tunnel vision.
Yeah, okay.
And your hearing's it's almost like you're underwater. Like it's normal. You're puffing and panting. It's what happens. Your hearing shuts down a bit when you're this kind of stuff.
You're on fight time.
You just focus. You're like, no, I'm focusing on this guy. This guy actually knows what he's doing clearly. I mean, he's not a soldier, he's not armed with weapons and stuff, but he knows what he's doing.
He's gotten into a scrap before.
That's exactly. But you've now got an opening to make a shot again.
Cool. I will make another attack roll in.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm the attacker, so I get to add +5 for this.
So you get to add +5, yeah.
Okay, so wow, a 1. I still win somehow.
You still win because you're attacking.
Yeah.
Right. So, so you hit and do the damage. Oh, 10. That's
a whopper.
Rough. That is rough. So as you swing back at him, you sort of again you sort of feint past his quarterstaff. You see exactly what he's trying to do, and you go, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, but he's no real.
He's no match for a truly trained
real
dwarven warrior.
That's it, exactly. And so essentially, what happens now? Can you roll a d6 for me?
Sure.
Yeah, so as you kind of do that, and you put another thrust back at his, aiming for his shoulder, to kind of like wound him enough that he's going to drop his weapon and retreat. He just kind of pivots in a weird way, just as a sort of slightly erratic fighter does.
Yeah.
And you basically just slice past his neck, and in slicing past his neck, you just hit his major artery, and he just drops dead.
Yeah. Yeah,
you
right.
Basically just stabbed him through the throat, which you weren't really trying to do, but you just. And as he kind of like, and he just sort of, as you hit his throat, he like looks panicked at you, his eyes kind of rolling frantically, and he sort of coughs all this blood out of his mouth and spills down his chin and his hands, and he just looks at you and kind of whimpers and then collapses to the floor. And in doing so, and now that that's happened, you can now kind of take a second to take stock. Because obviously that's you. And,
certainly. I'll now that I've unintentionally slain my enemy, I'll look around and see what else is going on, see who he was shooting at, and what all this screaming's about.
That's right. So as you turn around, you can see you take in. There's several roofs that have been set on fire now.
Yep.
And there's doors that lie broken off hinges, as some of your companions have sort of hacked their way into houses. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't on the orders, as far as you were aware. And as you spin back around to sort of command, you see your officer with an arrow sort of sticking out of his shoulder. Who's like down? He's sort of slumped down with one of his assistants, one of his lieutenants, kind of helping him. And there's one of the other captains who's got his sort of a bit further forward and gesturing with his sword, pointing out different houses and gesturing. And you can see that essentially, what you suspect has happened is like he got shot.
Yep.
And just ordered them to just take the town, to just burn the town.
Yeah, right.
In doing so. What happens next?
I guess I'll march back to my commander and be like, this was not what was ordered. We were supposed to mildly harass the town until they gave up, and the noble house that were
Get to fuck. Tell that to the blood on your sword too there, Simon. I saw what you did to that lad who shot me. I was going to give you a fucking medal for it. I didn't think it'd be a pansy. Have a beer and sit down. And he just kind of like gruffs off and just sort of shrugs off and goes off towards his tent.
I'll turn back to
he's not out of earshot. Like you could keep going at him if you want to, but he's clearly not. You know, he's not continuing the conversation from his end as far as he's.
I'm gonna turn back and look at the burning town and look at the bodies.
Yeah.
And I'll mutter to myself into my beard like, this was not what I signed up for.
Indeed. And so as we star wipe forwards from that into returning to the town.
Yep.
You obviously, I'm presuming we find ourselves with our intrepid heroes.
Yep.
Arriving in the town over the next week or so.
Yep.
You're all about a week or so away. I think Lucian's probably in the quickest, traveling by fast horse and knowing the roads and staying in fancy places, and has his family, estate to travel to and such. But you all get there now. As you all arrive. Sorry, do a D3 for me.
Oh, yep.
Sorry.
1.
Okay. 1 advance, but also fully heal.
Oh, cool, excellent. So
But yeah, fully heal yourself, because it's more than a week, right? You've had several nights of probably troubled sleep, but several nights of sleep to recover the stamina lost in the fight.
Yep.
So you are not injured anymore.
So what you were saying before, if I put an advance into my career skill, that also increases my stamina.
So your career skill being mercenary.
Mercenary, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So if you increase your mercenary skill, that increases your stamina as well.
Cool.
Yep.
I shall do that.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right. So excellent. We're all good.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for your patience. I thought we'd do a bit of just a little mini introductions for everyone, slightly extended scenes, but we're all in. We've arrived in the town. Now, as you've all been staying there, you've spent a bit of time. Essentially, Huxley, you've heard. While you were traveling through the town, you actually you made contact with some of the local guards and some of the guardsmen in the town, other road wardens who've been traveling around, and they'd heard stories and such. And you actually heard from one of the local guards that there's been this really interesting. Obviously, there's so many people coming in and out of town, but there's been a lot of them. They don't know where they're all staying.
What do you mean?
Right. The inns are full, but they can't get any more full than they are full. People are sleeping 2 and 3 to a bed. Stables are all full. There's no shantytown outside. There's no vagrancy in the street. Not to the levels that they'd expect for the sheer number of people that are coming in, right? So there's loads of people coming into the town, but they're not going anywhere. And so they're sort of starting to think that people might be going missing. But again, there's so many people, it's sort of like, but maybe maybe the post's getting lost. Maybe that quadrant of the city's just not checked the stables properly and they're actually sleeping more of them in there than they're meant to. Maybe there's some big families that have opened up their houses like this. Maybe there's more private citizens who are renting out, against the guild's rules to let people stay with them and such. You're not quite sure, people breaking Airbnb rules, essentially, who knows? But it doesn't add up. Kind of mysterious.
How unusual.
Indeed. And so,
Bad omen.
obviously, being a warden, it's of some interest to you as this kind of thing.
If people are going down the road and then leaving without
That's right.
the right to, that's no good.
Indeed. That's right. Now, so that's one thing you've heard. And you've made your way to a square. The square outside the palace where the king is going to make his proclamation. And you're waiting in there with a throng of people. As you're there. Yeah, exactly. As you're there. On a balcony, immediately above you, is Lucian. It's a balcony of your family estate. Overlooking the square on the piazza kind of thing in front of the main palace of the king, down from the sort of the citadel of the castle of Krishnapur, looking out across it. And the most curious thing happened earlier this week. Your pocket watch mirror thing that you had, your little powdered thing, that was stolen out of your pocket earlier in the week while you were wandering about the town by a small halfling in a cloak. It was the only look you got at before you got a chance, and then you were just sort of swirled away. So you've been kind of seething all week about this. It's been frustrating. And so you sit there kind of seething
the other way around.
That's
So
it.
I'm
Exactly.
pretty pissed off.
They got the drop on you, exactly. So I was like,
Yeah.
what's this about? Exactly. And so you're sitting there and sort of, and the trumpets blare. And in the blaring of the trumpets, Simon, who stands at the edge of one of the feeder streets, leading into this is startled from his reverie, and the trumpets sound just like the kind of horns of one of the mercenary companies you've served in, and you instantly kind of flash back a bit to what you've heard. Now, as you stand there, one of the high priests steps up onto the thing and begins to read a sermon and such, and sort of buoying up to this proclamation. But as he's doing so, Huxley, you notice a sort of tugging at your sleeve.
I'll pay it no heed unless it happens like 3 times.
It's happening really like quite frantic. It's getting more and more frantic the more you haven't observed it. It's getting obvious. It's not. It doesn't feel like someone's trying to subtly do it. They're trying to get your attention.
Oh,
but
okay.
it's that loud. It's hard to sort of
I'll look down reluctantly, still waiting.
You look.
For the
You
king's
look
proclamation.
down, and peering up at you is a sort of tearful face, with trembling lip, and oh my lord, oh it is you. Oh bless you. Oh bless you. Oh bless you. Oh. I knew we'd run into you again in your kind, generous heart. Oh, bless you. And you recognize it's one of the halflings of the family that you let pass on the road.
Ah, well,
It's the husband, it's the man, it's the one that you spoke to.
I'll very awkwardly be like, fair greetings to you.
Oh.
I'm just like trying to very awkwardly like shrug him off because I know that I let him through.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, oh, please, I've got no one else to turn to. It's me children. All 3 of them. Blinky, Blister, and Blinda.
What's wrong with your children? What's that?
They've disappeared, my lord. They've disappeared, my lord. They've gone missing.
What do you mean they've gone missing? What?
They've vanished out of their beds.
Vanished?
Right, we were staying in we managed to sneak in and get the last bed in a place. All 5 of us to the bed C. It was for a tall man, so all 5 of us could sneak in under the covers. It was all right.
As one is to do.
And we me and the missus woke up of a morning, and all 3 of them were gone.
It takes me like, I assume it takes me like a few seconds, and then it clicks in my head.
So while that's happening, Lucian, you notice this going on pretty much right underneath you, right? Because the sermon's dragging on. You don't care about what it is. It's nonsense kind of thing.
Because he keeps prattling on, I'm like putting my resting on the balcony, and my head is in my hands. You know, when you're like holding your forehead, and I'm looking straight down at it, and I've been staring at it, and I'm only just starting to realize.
That's it. And now the halfling looks very familiar. If you really deep down thought about it, you don't know whether it's the same halfling or not.
Yeah.
But you don't know it's not the same halfling either.
I mean, they all look the same.
Exactly.
Ooh. Casual
He's
racism.
an asshole.
They're bumpkins.
There have been a lot of burns in this
in a
game
dark
already.
cloak.
Yeah.
In a dark cloak. It looks to be harassing this guy who's clearly got the get up of a road warden. So a well-to-do man, if again a bit of a bumpkin in your eyes, but still, he's part of the establishment. And this halfling looks familiar.
He's not wearing anything that makes him look like guard or anything.
Huxley?
Huxley, yeah.
Not
He's
really, no.
so.
Which is sort of like a citizen. It's sort of like a Transperth officer kind of thing, like a pretend policeman.
I was gonna say it's more like a lollipop man.
Yeah, that's it. Kind of like glorified lollipop man,
Yeah.
So like one of those scenes happen where like you can looking at from Huxley's view up, you see me on the balcony, and then he looks down at the halfling and looks back up, and I'm gone. And I'm heading down.
Perfect. Great. So you're racing down the stairs.
Yep.
All right. So as you're doing that, Huxley, what happens to you? What do you say? What do you say? Sorry, back to you. We snap back to your conversation.
I'm still very like I just want to hear the king. I just want to like focus on that. But I guess I'll just be like, it takes a bit of like gear turning because I imagine I'm not the smartest guy.
Yeah.
And then it clicks. I'm like, wait, missing right under your nose.
Oh, that's it. We were there in our beds. We'd had a lovely evening down in the bar. There was singing and dancing and food and this delicious stew. And then we went up to bed and we all curled up under the covers, all 5 of us, all tucked in nice and snug. And then when we woke up, they was gone.
But have you noticed anyone else where you're staying going missing as well?
There's so many comings and going, it's hard to say. But I've heard the rumors. I've heard some whisperings. There's been so many people booked into this tavern. The tap room's full. There's people sitting on knees. There's 10 to a table. The bar's 5 men deep. And they're all staying there. And yet we've all got beds, it seems.
Oh, fascinating. Have you talked to the guards?
Of course I talked to the guards, my lord, but they've got to quash all sorts of other stuff. There's all sorts of other crimes. There's pickpockets and there's thieves and there's charlatans peddling their wares. There's gamblers coming about trying to swindle people out of their money. I've heard there's licentious pamphlets going around talking about how the king's a liar, how the warlock's not being caught, how the warlock's still at large and trying to bring doom down on our heads, my lord. So the guards can't spare a thought for it. I've had a few well-meaning guys pop their heads in, but they popped in and they looked in and went, "Oh, they're halflings. They're just playing hide and seek."
I give like a big inhale, exhale, and then I go, Listen, old acquaintance. Sure. Listen.
Blimbo, Mr. Blimbo.
Listen, Mr. Blimbo. I can't promise anything, but I tell you what, I'll have a good look. I know these
bless
parts...
you. That would be grand if you could be so kind to do that. It's called the Munchin Moor. It's over on the west side of town.
The Munchin Moor, eh?
It used to have another name, but I can't quite figure out what it was. You see, they painted over the sign, but it used to have another name. But it's called the Munchin Moor. And trust me, if you hear about that, it's one of the most heathen taverns in the whole place. There is. So, napping across quickly to Simon, you hear the name Munchin Moor.
Yep.
And that stirs something within you. Because you'd heard of you remember an old colleague of yours.
Yeah.
Had intended to open a tavern called the Munchin Moor.
Ah. Munchin Moor. Right. Well.
And you just overhear this conversation. None of it sticks out to you that much, but I mean, it might do. I don't know how guilty you feel about, murdering relatively innocent peasants.
Oh, I'm feeling relatively guilty.
Yeah. But you hear about that, but also colleague or ex-colleague sort of thing.
I think my former company mate, Brom, runs a tavern.
I'm glad you guessed the name.
Surely not. Was it called Ayleswell? I think it may have taken over.
Wait until you get there.
Surely
not.
Let's let him cook, okay? Just.
Aye. Would I?
Are you joining the conversation, or are you just?
No, I'm just thinking that to myself. Yeah. Would I know where in town that was without obviously?
You heard him say it's on the western side of town, and it's the most heaving tavern in the place at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
But like you heard enough of the conversation to get those descriptions that you'd be like, okay, I can probably work out
make my way
is.
there. Yeah.
Or you can ask someone, right? Like, it's not.
That's true.
You can also ask for directions.
It's medieval-esque times. You can just ask around.
Yeah.
I will.
So, Steve, were you saying or doing something?
Yeah. When they were basically finishing up that conversation, I put my hand on the halfling's shoulder.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I say, while you're looking for whatever it is you are, perhaps you can find my pocket watch. And I just stare at him.
And he sort of shudders suddenly and jumps. He's, "Oh, my lord, I don't know what you're talking about. Have you lost something?"
You could say that. Someone matching your description stole my pocket watch.
Oh, there's an
They,
awful lot of thieves and pickpockets I heard from the guards and what like.
Hmm. And you, tall man? What
Do
are
I
you?
what?
Do you know who took my pocket watch?
Sir, I've just met you. I don't even know what your pocket watch looks like. And besides, I'm a man of the law. I'm a humble road warden. Today's my day off, you see. I look very, eager about being a road warden for some reason. Now, look, this kind-hearted soul, Mr. Bilbo, he's... No,
Limbo. Limbo.
Bimbo.
Limbo.
Limbo. Mr.
Blimbo.
Mr. Blimbo, he's a fine lad. He's on hard times, and I assure you he never meant any harm. And he wouldn't be stealing any pocket watches about now.
No stealing my hands. And he holds up his hand. He's actually missing like most of the fingers off his left hand. Like they're not completely gone, but they're like all mangled stumps.
Huh.
Did I catch a sight of the other halfling's hands?
Not enough.
But can I use like my streetwise skill to just like look up and down this halfling and see if he's
Yeah.
a thieving sort?
Yep, absolutely.
Nine.
You don't think so? But it's hard to say. I mean, sorry. Rather, you think probably, but I mean that's because all halflings are, right?
Yeah.
That's why they come to the big city. They come to steal shit, particularly in crowds like this.
Is it now that I get an up close look? Is my gut telling me it's this person?
Probably not. You don't think so, right? Because you feel like the person who was doing it was younger. Like you can see this guy. He's actually got grey hair and like he's looking at his hand that's mangled. It's mangled from like a farming accident or something. It's an old hand of an old worker kind of thing.
He doesn't look
It's
sprightly.
calloused. He looks sprightly in that he's a small halfling. But he doesn't look dexterous enough to be able to pinch something. Like if he's got two hands, his right hand's pretty good, but his left hand's pretty munted. And it's like not that you can't pickpocket with a good hand. But you just feel like all the best pickpockets, all the best sort of those with sleight of hand or the card sharps and stuff. You need pretty good
And the
fingers.
way he didn't notice me coming up to him.
That's it. Yeah. And the fact that he sort of like tugged on this guy's sleeve for a bunch and talked to him rather than just like slipped in and out kind of thing. Yeah. You think probably not.
Well, perhaps I have the wrong halfling. Sorry, Mr. Blimbo, was it?
Indeed, my lord, absolutely. But I assure you, I'll keep a lookout from your pocket watch. Me Blinda, see, she was very good at finding sparkly and shiny things like that. She was. Oh, but maybe I'll never see her again now. Oh no.
No,
Misty
I
eyed and
assure
starts
you.
tearing up.
I assure you, I'll give it my best look. Tell you what was that place named again?
It's called the Munchin Maw. There'll be
You know
all
what?
sorts of halfling folk there. Maybe I'll ask around there for you, Mr. Lord, sir. And if we find your pocket watch, I'll be sure to bring it right back here, I promise. But it's me and me missus. See, we're just still looking for me lads.
Have I heard any rumors about people going missing?
Probably not. Do you want to, make a...
Actually, not about people going missing, maybe more people being sold or like...
I'm just trying to think what's it going to be a more horrible kind of thing. If you've got any kind of nefarious knowledge about stuff going on.
I think it would, if I did, it would be something like from my father.
Yeah. Go with a history check for me. I know it's not old history. It's not quite the same thing, but I think that's probably what I think's the best to go with.
26.
Nice. You're familiar with some of the more outlandish proclivities of some other nobles, and having this many people in town would certainly cause that. But it would be very unusual for them to pick up a bunch of these country bumpkin halfling children. They're much more interested in like getting the sort of second and third sons of sort of minor nobles and things and corrupting them. They're not so much children eaters. They're more about, getting a bunch of nobles and creating a pleasure cult.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. So it sticks out as something unusual. And I mean, you haven't given the unwashed mash as much as I thought, but
no,
like how did they even know people are going missing? It's a big city, but there's so many people now. It's just heaving, So it definitely stands out as an unusual occurrence. But there are a few kind of more nefarious magical rituals that require, sacrifice that you're aware of.
Roadman, what was your name again?
My name's Huxley, sir.
Right.
Now, obviously, Ben, you're hearing all of this. You're
as soon as I saw the noble start interacting with the road warden and the halfling, I've been keeping one eye and both ears on that conversation. I've got one eye on the king's presentation, but I'm not really paying it any mind.
Nice.
Well, this is a far sight more interesting than that pompous dickhead up there.
So as you kind of say that and look and gesture, you actually you guys sort of notice, you're sort of brought back to it, and you kind of hear the roar of the crowd as everyone kind of applauds, and the king kind of like takes the applause and turns to go back inside. So in the kerfuffle, you've kind of missed most of the proclamation.
Really hope that was not important.
I can assure you it wasn't. So, I would, out of the generosity of my heart, I am willing to assist you in finding your children.
Oh, bless you, my lord, bless you. And he just sort of like falls down and starts like kissing the hem of your robe and your feet and just...
I just like keep moving my feet back.
Shuffling away from him, yeah.
I'm more interested in trying to find information on somebody to blackmail somebody else.
Of course, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. You're going, okay, there's some kind of wizard cult's moved in, is snatching children to do horrible things with, and you've got a clue into that, and that's useful information and magic for you. Exactly. That's what.
And if it's a wizard, they're probably nobles or somebody.
Exactly. There's someone important. It's worth it's valuable to you. Exactly right. Yeah.
So, this tavern, I suppose.
Oh, I could lead the way if you wouldn't mind, sir. As I'd be happy to if you're happy to come with me.
Well, lead the way then.
All right.
As you guys...
And so he starts ducking and weaving, yep.
As you guys start sort of turning to leave the sort of piazza, I'll step out in front of the halfling and hold a hand out to sort of stop you and go, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation in amongst all of the hubbub. I happen to know the proprietor of that tavern, if it is the tavern you're speaking of, was it the Mad Moor, the Mighty Moor?
The Munchin Moor, my lord.
The Munchin Moor, that's...
No, hang on. Yeah, the Munchin Moor, my lord. Indeed. Oh, that'd be, what was his name again? It escapes me. Anyway, of course, yes, he's a slightly gruff fellow, a dwarf like yourself, my lord. I'd be happy to show you the way too. I'm just showing these gentlemen there myself.
If it's no trouble, I'll accompany you.
I'm
course.
sure it's a delightful place for the name like that.
Great. Excellent. So yeah, and he kind of, as soon as you agree, Ben, he just sort of ducks down and kind of nips off.
Incredible, flawless.
Going quite quickly, sort of nipping along quite swiftly through the through the stuff that all of you kind of struggle a little bit to keep up with him because he is little and clearly very good at just adept at sort of slipping through crowds.
Yep.
But none of you lose sight of him. It's not hard. It's not impossible. Everyone's still kind of going into the square and the piazza.
I'm not bad at moving through crowds, just not quickly.
That's it. Yeah, you're bound by the fact that you're a human and there are other humans. There are halfling-shaped gaps between humans' legs and stuff that he can just zip through. And dwarves are wide enough that you just sort of bash a path through, so it's fine.
Exactly. I'm broad enough and sturdy enough that I'm just going to just make my own path.
That's it. But okay, so after, I mean, it's sort of the city itself of Krishnapur. It's kind of built into, it's quite a steep, hilly city. Right at the peak is the great citadel of the castle, and sort of down from, and it's not like Minas Tirith in that it's in rings, but it is in kind of districts, slowly, obviously descending closer to the castle, nicer. The immediate surrounds of the castle, there's palaces and such, and sort of upper merchant houses and things. Down from that, there's sort of a band of industry, but it's kind of like this is where all the fancy stables are and like the fine armorers and things like that.
Like artisan arts type stuff.
Yeah, artisans and stuff. But there's some coal smoke and stuff as you work through that section because there's some proper fine leather goods and things. So there's still some tanning going on in the background. So every now and then you get these horrible smells of industry, but mixed with posh people.
Yeah.
And then working your way down, it gets more into the kind of semi-residential areas. And then further out, it's just getting grimier and grubbier, and people are getting a bit dodgier and stuff.
Yeah.
But as you sort of round a corner of a sort of big, wide street that's kind of winding and weaving its way almost like a river, you all sort of start hearing this kind of strange, almost like chanting noise, and this like sort of thudding kind of sound coming. And then sort of sitting on the corner of this big wide road and a sort of slightly narrow one running, because this is to the west of the city, and there's one that sort of runs north-south, and this sort of sits on the corner.
Yeah.
And there's this kind of like, it's a 3-story building, but it's quite squat. It's wider than it is tall.
Yeah, okay.
It's got kind of that overhanging second and third stories on it.
Yep.
But still wider than it is tall. Like it's because they just sort of hang out, and it's the third story is sort of more like a loft as well. Like it's not quite a full thing, but it's there. And you can hear that this sound is clearly coming from this building. You can't really see many windows on the ground floor. There's a few small ones, but they sort of seem really grimy and grubby. The upper floor's got some more windows on it, and then the top floor's got a couple of small windows at either end of the gables. But besides that, it's and it's just sort of thudding away on the corner there. As Blimbo kind of like gestures and says, "There you are, sirs. If you don't mind, I might actually. I'm going to duck out now for a minute because my missus and I found a smaller place to stay in just round the corner." And he points to a thing where sort of the halfling woman's waving at him from out of the door.
First, which room were you in?
Oh, we were in the loft, my lord.
All right.
Well,
Might go see if my old campaigning buddy is still running this place.
let's go have a chat, I suppose.
Hey.
Excellent. So you as you come up to the door, you see hanging proudly on the sign is a sign that depicts a well.
Mm-hmm.
And from the well, a big bucket is being pulled up, but it's not a bucket of water; it's a bucket of ale,
Of course.
foaming and frothing and such. Now,
Lunch and morn.
but painting over the top of that is like this kind of set of red jaws, in a kind of grin, and it just looks kind of uncomfortable. Like it's a bit gross. Like it's not they're not human teeth, but they're not monstrous teeth. They're clearly stylized teeth, in a kind of sort of grinning rictus smile. They're not particularly monstrous, but they're not particularly human either. And they're a bit shitty. Like, it's sort of like, this is odd, given that it's got such a nice painting underneath you can see.
Yeah. Okay.
But as you do that, so the door is sort of swinging in, and sort of people stumble in and stumble out.
Yep.
And sort of as it swings one way, you sort of hear the chanting inside, and you realize it's some kind of singing and kind of clapping and slapping along, and it's sort of doing that vroom vroom in phase out of phase thing, as the door swings.
Yeah.
But it's loud, like it's pumping.
All right.
Right. Who's going in first?
I shall head in first.
All right, perfect. So you head in, you swing the door, you sort of step broadly into the room. So obviously the noise hits you, like almost like it hits you, like it's like standing in front of a speaker.
Yep.
That's too loud. It's pumping, it's heaving. You take about 2 steps into the room, and then you almost can't anymore because it's just packed with bodies. It's just full of people. There's a few, you can sort of peer through the legs and stuff. There's tables that people are kind of sitting on the tables as well as sitting on the benches at the tables.
Yeah.
And on the benches, you've got men, and then there's dwarves sitting on the laps of men, and then there's halflings sitting on the laps of dwarves. And they're all kind of like slapping their knees and quote unquote singing along. The bar's got about 3 people deep constantly. But you can see there's little pockets from your height as a dwarf, and the majority of the room are men. You can see these little pockets of space shifting around in the crowd, which you realize must be serving people.
Yeah.
Wending their way through the crowd, and sort of hanging just above, pleasantly for you, above head height, but it would be at human head height. And the other 2 of you, as you step in, this besides the sound, the smell assaults you instantly, and it's just this thick, greasy black smoke mingling from the kind of guttering candles, lurking in cobwebbed corners. The pipe smoke from the thing, cooking grease from the kitchens, and it's just sort of all mingled into this kind of like haze that sort of hangs above it all, at sort of human head height. It's quite dark, but there's a really bright hot fire in the sort of one corner, next to the sort of quote unquote stage, and you can sort of work out that there is a spit in the middle of the room that's just got some sort of scraps of meat left on it, not even enough to eat, and it sort of flares every now and then when drunk patrons half stumble into it and swear and sort of stumble out again.
It somehow smells like dungeon synth.
That's exactly the vibe.
Yeah.
That's certainly what I was trying to describe.
All right. Perhaps we go find well, shall we go to the room, or shall we find the man that runs this place?
I think we'll have more luck finding the dwarf who runs this place than we would finding our way up to the 3rd floor.
All right, then. Let's go find whoever runs this establishment.
All right. So you can kind of, peering through the pack, the sort of the throng at the bar, there is someone. You can see that there's definitely a dwarf, and Simon, you think you recognize him, but again, it's hard to tell back to this angle.
Yeah.
You'd need to kind of make a bit of a shove through to get through. If you can, to get to the bar, I think either need to make for me, between the 3 of you, make a brawling or a streetwise or a stealth check, or something else if you guys want to use. If you guys can justify something else to me, I'm happy for you to try something else.
I'm certainly going to do a brawling test.
I mean, you can use polearm if you want. You don't have to attack him like to hit him, but
yeah, maybe
try and leave your way through. I mean, it might cause a bit of a problem, but
yeah. I am not good in any of the things that Alex suggested, but I do have 6 intimidate.
I mean, you can try that. Yeah, I'm happy for you to try intimidate your way up to the bar.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start throwing elbows.
Yeah, that's fine.
You just start throwing elbows.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Just circle pit it. Just
All right. So
Wall of Death. Just
that
two
is
step you
my
away from the bar.
brawling roll.
Yep, cool.
Shall I?
It's contested because there's other patrons
Oh,
that
yeah.
you happen to get past. I'm not just being like, I'm not like that. You fail because you didn't hit 20.
Ooh.
So you start throwing elbows, and they kind of half throw them back a bit, but not to start a fight. They just you kind of just bounce off, like because they just you sort of shove one guy and get your shoulder in front of him, but then it doesn't move. You expect him to move, but he just can't. There just isn't
Yeah.
anywhere
Okay.
to go.
There's just no
you know.
way to get through it all.
Not really. You know, you just have it, or you wherever. Just the surging of the crowd at the minute just doesn't let you through.
Can I try intimidation to see if we can just like literally say I need to get to like the bar or
Yeah.
the kitchen or wherever we
Yeah,
think we're going?
yeah. Yeah, you can see there's you can see in the corner. So the bar's sort of at one end. If you think of it as like an oblong shape, bar's at one end. The fireplace and the stage is at the other end. The kitchens is kind of like, and you've come in sort of in the sort of middle-ish of one wall. The stairs up are in the sort of corner that's diagonally opposite the stage.
Yeah.
Next to that seems to be a door that leads to the kitchen.
All right. Are we aiming? Well, are we aiming for the kitchen? Because that's basically where we want to go to find the owner.
I don't know. Where are you aiming for?
I think I spotted the.
Steven's aiming for the bar, I think.
I think I spotted my compatriot at the bar. We should probably head there.
All right. Let
So
me give this a go.
There's not so much like it's a wall of people, but it's a wall of people, and that you probably can get through it if you get a good roll. You know, if you find a good way to get in there. It's moving and surging because of the crowd singing along and the servers moving around and stuff like that.
Is there like a pocket where there's more humans that I could use?
Most of it is humans, to be honest, that you can see really.
I'll just like straighten up and like start walking and just saying move.
Yeah, sure. It's I mean it works a bit. Like you're sort of starting to shuffle them. Again, they've got that sort of awkward like. I mean, it's like being packed into a train, you know, with too many people. You can sort of move a bit, and you can kind of shove your way through a bit, but it's tough. It's hard. You know, there's not a lot of space to fit in.
I'm gonna try and speed it up by just yelling. I'm like, clear.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, clear the road or
Make
something.
way, clear the road. You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 1 sec.
Yeah, all good.
So I have a 19 intimidate, if that's something.
All right, let me roll.
So when he starts doing that, I'm gonna actually walk up behind him and like try and obviously not try and look important. I am, but straighten up like he's trying to make way for me.
Yeah.
That was
so we'll add a 5 to that because of him helping, right? He's sort of helping your role. So you actually there's a few people sort of notice a bit and they go, okay, yeah, maybe we can duck out the way a little bit.
They're the way important coming through here.
Yeah, and they sort of okay, and they sort of tug their forelock at you a bit, or sort of like salute you with a drink, or a couple of the more drunken ones like, oh, okay, you want a drink, yeah, all right, and they sort of they manage to clear a bit of a path to the bar.
Okay.
I'm assuming our dwarven friend follows behind.
Indeed, I'm sure he does. And so he would recognise a dwarf, broad, thick black beard, thick black hair, graying at the temples, very furrowed brow. Like so furrowed, it's actually hard to see his eyes under his bushy eyebrows, and his brow and his nose and his beard and everything is sort of a real scrunched up face. But he just seems to be kind of like, with one hand he'll kind of swipe coins off the counter into this sort of pocket at the front of his apron that's open, jingles as the coppers fall in there, and then he'll sort of grab a mug, slam it down, slam the tap on with the mug, throw the mug under there until it fills up, and then he'll slide it down to the person who ordered it, and sweeping. He's got a pretty good rhythm as he sort of weaves his way around the bar. I'm just going to quickly get myself a glass of water.
Surely our boy. He'll have answers, right?
I mean, it is, but I'll wait until
Yeah.
Ben's back.
Well, I'm just thinking, if he doesn't, what's the next lead? Oh, I guess the next lead would be check the room, but really, our boy will know something. He'll know something's up.
Well, actually, so while you're there, so you've got to the front of the bar. You've been watching this going on. You can see over the heads of people. You can see the person singing, the sort of bard entertaining them. Is quite an unusual looking fellow. Very fine featured, very unusual long nose. That is just dripping with sweat because he's standing right next to the fireplace, which is just roaring, and it's the middle of the day, so it's weird, right? Like, you know, it is odd that they've got their fireplace just blasting with so many people in here.
Yeah. But it's got a massive spit on it, right?
No. There was like a fire pit in the middle of the room that had a spit, but that's gone out. That's just coals. There's a big fireplace. There's like a big fireplace at the corner that doesn't have a spit on it. That's just a big fireplace that's just blazing hot.
Yeah.
And this guy's standing there, and he's hammering away at this sort of accordion type thing. So through every now and then you get little blasts of like accordion-y type sound. And he kind of like heaves in and out, and he's sort of bellowing at the top of his lungs. Seems to be singing quite a popular tune amongst the working classes called "The Good Queen's Ass."
Oh, I know that one.
And that's what everyone's slapping their knees to.
Yeah. That's a bang.
But can I get you guys to both make a spot check for me, please?
Spot check.
Yeah. It's not opposed. It's just a flat one.
Pretty good spot.
Or unless there's something else you reckon that would be better.
13 and 14.
Yeah, cool. The room just sort of it's there's just lots going on.
Yeah. I don't think I would be doing anything else in particular at this point.
How far into the room have we managed to get, or have we
They managed to get to the bar.
Okay, cool.
They got to the bar and they saw a broad dwarf with thick black hair with iron grey at the temples, swept back. Very bushy eyebrows, brow in a deep furrow, big thick nose, big thick beard, really sort of pinched face, looking quite grim, and he's sort of swiftly swiping coins into his apron, slamming the tap down with the tankard, then slamming the tankard under the still running tap, and then sliding it down to the guy who paid, and then starts the whole process again. But you recognise it as your old pal Bron. Naturally, obviously.
Hey,
Who would have seen it coming?
Mandatory.
who would have seen it coming?
Right. Yeah.
Hey, lad.
I'm not going to get rid of 15 years of tradition just in
No.
or however long it is in one go. Come on.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
Hey, lad, there's some thirsty men here. Why don't you shuffle on down this way, and I'll lay a single silver on the counter with my finger on it.
Don't have time for change for that, he says. Split it into 3. If you want 3 mugs of ale.
I think you'll find, laddie, that it's not just ale that I'm after. You recognise me, don't you, Bron?
I want stew as well. Why, that'll be 6. I can do change for that.
I think, actually, what we're after is information.
What kind of information are you after? Pretty loud in here. He's definitely Bron, right? It's definitely his voice. It's definitely. I mean, it's not quite the voice you're used to, but it's definitely Bron. Yeah. He is definitely acting unusual. Like the really drawn, pinched in face and gruff like that is not an expression you're used to seeing him do. Yeah. It's unusual, but you've got no idea what that like. I don't know. You don't.
It's probably been years since I've seen him. I imagine.
Yeah, it has. It's probably been a good 5 or 6 years at least. Yeah. And even then, it was brief when you last saw him.
Yeah. About 6 years, I reckon.
Yeah.
I'll look over my shoulder at the two humans and go, "Hey, what's the information you're looking for?"
Well, we're here to inquire about some missing folk. Don't know if you ever heard anything like that.
You can people pay for bed and they check in and then they fuck off when they're done. And to be honest, I've been sleeping 4 or 5. I've had like entire families to the bed, mate. I wouldn't know who's checking in and checking out.
You don't even know who's checking in and checking out into your own tavern.
I'm gonna take a fucking look, mate. Look around. Could you tell me who was in this room right now and who wasn't?
All right, point
Yeah, he comes back with three mugs of ale. And he goes, "Oi, Susie, 3 stews." One of the serving girls who's just backing into the kitchen door, kind of next to the bar, she goes, "All right," and then if you keep how about I take the silver and then you 3 to a bed. It's fine. There's one up in the top floor if you need. And he sort of goes, and then he's off back down the other end of the bar, taking the silver with him.
All right, I shall mark off one silver.
Again, you haven't seen Ron for a long time.
Yeah, but
definitely definitely an unusual interaction. Something's a bit off.
Yeah.
But there's the 3 mugs of ale in front of you.
Yeah.
And then after a moment or so, Susie comes back with 3 trenchers of this sort of slightly peculiar stew.
Hey, I'll accept the stew, and I'll what's so peculiar about it?
Is anyone else doing anything like with the stew or the drinks first? Just while we.
Is something I'm not drinking? Is there something visually, or eating? But is there something visual that is making it seem unusual?
Well, it looks very rich and hearty. And it's sort of the color and texture of quite an expensive stew. Like it's quite a nice. It actually looks really good and smells. It smells strong and pungent, but not in a gross way. But it's just it's an unusual gamey smell. But it's got great big chunks of meat in it. And again, kind of unusual for the fact that this is sort of midway through a week-long festival. The place is fucking packed out like crazy. And like you'd expect them to be running out of supplies of this kind of stuff, you hear rumors about sawdust in the bread and things and sort of shit food at these kind of places because there just isn't any way to support this number of people. But they seem to have got a good supply of meat.
Can I make a survival check to maybe see what just by smell alone what I think might be in the stew?
Yep. Excellent. Nice. You hit a 20. Good. So, starting from the vegetables, there's some potato, and there's some leek, and there's some cabbage, and there's some carrot, and there's some onion.
Yep. Nothing out of the ordinary there.
Nothing out of the ordinary there. There's some interesting spices.
Would they be interesting in the sense that I wouldn't know them, or interesting in that they're probably a bit more expensive?
You've tasted them before, but you wouldn't be able to tell people what they were.
Gotcha.
They're from a far off kind of southern land.
Yeah.
And it's like when you have like curries and stuff, right? There's a few different curry flavors and things like that, obviously. But there's some you might not exactly know. The difference between grains of paradise and long pepper, right?
Yeah.
Like you sort of know, you've tasted it before. It's a rare but unfamiliar flavor.
Yeah. Okay.
But for rare flavor but known. You wouldn't know what it's called, but you've heard it before.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting mix because the vegetables are very much hearty root vegetables from this part of the kingdom.
Yeah.
Those spices are from a far off land, and you wouldn't normally put them together in a cuisine, but it works.
Okay.
And then the meat, you actually don't know what the meat is, despite the fact that you've rolled a 20 to know stuff.
Sure.
Because you've never tasted this meat before.
Okay, I'm not tasting, I'm just smelling at this point.
Oh, well, yeah. So in that case, so yeah, you could not tell me. You could not tell what the meat was without ingesting some
Sure. Is it?
because you
Can
don't
I at
recognize
least
it.
tell if it's
It's
red
in
or
like
white
it's
meat?
like beef chuck. It's like beef chuck sized chunks.
Okay.
You know, so it's in chunks of meat. It's not any kind of unusual color. It's sort of like it looks rich. It looks gamey. It looks very proteiny. Quite dense muscle. You know, and then you recognize all the veggies and spices because you can get all that from the smell and from just visual.
Yeah. Okay. That's a mighty fine looking stew. Although I can't recognize the meat they've got in there. Before I ingest any of the stew, I will take a long draw from my my ale.
Yep, cool. The ale's pretty gross.
Yeah, I imagine probably watered down quite a lot.
It's watery, it's yeasty, it's a bit flat,
Yep.
like it's lost some of its sparkle. It's kind of dusty. It's got floating shit in it,
Yep.
definitely from the previous user of the tankard.
Yep.
Also very much in keeping with a tavern that looks and operates like this with people in it like crazy, and the style of tavern from the outside. You'd expect this quality of ale.
Yep.
But you wouldn't expect that quality of soup, you know, of stew. That seems
okay.
unusual.
I will smack my lips and go, a mighty fine drop. I'll sniff the stew again, and I'll look up at Lucian and say, "This might be the sort of fare that you fair folks eat. Too rich for my taste. But I'll have your ale if you're not drinking."
You paid for it. Take it.
I will at that, and I'll double park myself.
Perfect. Why not? You're a rough as guts mercenary. You don't care, like whatever. You're happy to have shit ale.
Yep.
It's all beer. All beer's good beer.
It contains the key ingredient of alcohol.
Indeed. That's it.
So people go missing, and they have this quality of meat and food. Interesting.
Are you suggesting that the people are winding up in the stew?
Yes.
I've known Braun a
would.
long time. This doesn't seem to be the sort of thing that he would do.
Well, he didn't seem to recognize you.
No, you're right
Can you
there.
make a spot check for me, please, Simon? And actually, everyone can make another spot check for me.
Sure, let me get my character sheet back up. Good, I have not got a good skill in spot.
I got a 15.
I also got a 15.
Everyone got a 15.
Nice.
Oh my
So,
god.
I mean, with that, what you're noticing is you do actually notice that the serving people, there's men and women and dwarves and humans or whatever, shuffling around the room. But every now and then, one of them will go over to the fire, and they'll add more to it. The roaring fire. So you might have missed this sort of description, Ben. So essentially, bars at one end of the room, fireplaces at opposite end of the room. There's a fire pit in the middle of the room that's just coals with a spit on it.
Yep.
But the fireplace at the far end of the room is just blazing, like it's full blast, full on. Extra logs and other shit are being thrown in there all the time.
Aye.
And it's roaring away. Kind of odd because it's middle of the day, right? Like it's pretty weird, and also it's packed out. But it seems to be bringing quite a lot of light into the room as well because there's not really
It's
many
dingy in
candles.
here
Not
otherwise.
many windows, and the candles are a bit shitty and guttering and stuff.
Yeah.
But every now and then, one of the serving people goes over and they just kind of like they just throw a bunch of shit into the fire, like just from a box or a bag or a sack or something. Just all sorts of just miscellaneous bric-a-brac, you know.
Right.
But it looks like rags and scraps or
Yeah,
sometimes
okay.
it's the paper and wood and just shit, you know. They're just sort of burning garbage, but in vast quantities and weirdly frequently.
Where are they getting it from? Are they appearing
From
in
the kitchens, through the kitchen door. They come in and out of there with trays of this stew, and that seems to be the only thing they're serving that you guys have ascertained. And then every now and then one will come out with a box or a bag of garbage or something like that.
And isn't the person playing the harmonica or whatever it is,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sweating up a storm as well, being near it.
Yes, yeah. Just 'cause
But he
it's
doesn't
really
seem
hot.
to be ceasing what he's doing, or
No. Like he's not reacting to that in any kind of way, but he's sort of like, you can see he's sort of struggling,
yeah.
but also doesn't really have a lot of room, and also you kind of get the vibe that if he was to stop, that the crowd would then take their energy somewhere else and
Yes.
badly, like not violent necessarily, but they would
He might
probably
descend to
get.
that.
Yeah, they'd get raucous with each other. They'd start fighting. It'd get worse in here because at least they're kind of most of their attention's either on the bar or on the music, and singing along and clapping along and shit. They're not. But if that stopped, then who the fuck knows what could happen, kind of thing.
Can
I'll be right back. But
Yeah.
How close are we to the fire? Are we like near the fire down that end of the
Nah,
bar?
you're
or-
opposite end of the room because
Okay.
you're kind of at the bar / on the corner of the bar now. You've managed to weasel your way / intimidate your way through.
Okay. And is
What?
where we're standing, is that nearest to the kitchen entrance or is it furthest?
You'd be pretty
from-
close to the kitchen entrance, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
not sure if you said your name. Simone, was it?
Simon.
Simon? Right. I think we should see what they are throwing in the fire, because if they are doing what I said, they have to get rid of their belongings somehow.
That's a reasonable assumption, but it's well, I say it's a reasonable assumption. It's reasonable to assume that if what you're saying is true, that's what they're throwing into that there fire. But
I hope it is not.
as I said, I know Bron of old. I didn't think he'd be doing something that nefarious. I suspect a
hope
better option
not.
would be to find a way into the kitchens and see what's happening in there.
are we busting into a kitchen?
We're debating the final choices between going and investigating the fireplace or investigating the kitchen.
So just to set the scene, if that helps you, just to sort of picture the room again.
Hmm.
So you've got the bar. You guys are sort of you've managed to sort of nestle yourselves into the corner of a bar. It's still packed in tight, but now you're at the bar. People are usually getting a drink, and they seem to be cycling through. Really, there's a bit of a rhythm now that you're in. You're actually in it. They're sort of cycling around. You guys have managed to kind of move off to one side, sort of awkwardly standing there with the drinks and stews and stuff. I presume that you two have left yours, and Simon's got 2 beers and a stew, sort of balanced, but that's about it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. So there's two stews that are on the table. When you look back, they're gone. Someone's pinched them.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
fine.
Yeah, whatever, exactly.
Great.
But and you're right near the kitchen doors, which sort of swings in and open. And you're fairly close to the stairs leading upstairs as well. They're nearby. You'd be able to get to either of them without too much trouble. You could try and push and smash your way over to the fire, but would take a little while. And
I mean, if we're near the kitchen door, we'll just wait for one of the servants to come out with a bag of shit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Are they coming out of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kitchen or are they coming from like upstairs with
no,
with
from the
stuff?
kitchen.
Yeah.
From the kitchen. It seems.
So I guess we'll just wait for another one to come out with an armload of stuff and we'll see what we can see.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, so you're sort of waiting for a little bit. He moves from the Queen's Fine Ass to a different raucous tavern song, smashing away at his accordion. And then so eventually another one comes out. It's actually Susie who brought out your stews.
Yeah.
She's coming there with sort of like an armful of just stuff, Like it's obviously there's no cardboard, but it's kind of the medieval equivalent of like a cardboard box full of shit. She's got like a thin packing crate that's got like scraps of fabric in there in all sorts of weird colors and textures and shapes, but like sort of like rags and stuff. There's like a bit of old bone, and there's like a ripped book, but it's just it's just like parts of a book that have kind of been ripped in half, and sort of junk and stuff like that. And there's some like scraps of wood and stuff that you can see over her shoulder. I'd need you guys to make a spot check to get more specific about it.
I'm just gonna stop her.
Sure.
I'll roll my spot check anyway. Let's see what I get.
Yeah, you roll that.
Whoa!
You stop her, and as you stop her, bang, nice. Well, as you stop her, she sort of half sort of curtsies. Oh my lord, sorry about that. Excuse me, and she sort of tries to duck around you a bit.
I like put my cane out
Okay.
to try and stop.
Sort of looks at the cane and looks back at you as a bit like, and a little bit sort of uneasy.
Yeah.
You...
So I'm gonna say, what are you doing with all that? Don't you think the fire is blazing enough?
Oh, indeed it is. It's mighty hot in here, that'd be certain. Luckily, it's a bit cooler in the kitchen, see. But there'd be so much garbage, a big mess of travelers like this coming in. They check in and then they check out and they leave all their junk behind, expecting us to just get rid of it. Normally in winter it's all fine. You can burn it for warmth, but otherwise there'd be a pile the size of the inn out the back if we didn't burn it. There's not really much else we can do. So while she's saying that, Ben, you notice that like the wood has actually got like paintings on it. They're actually like thin, almost like artist canvases.
Yeah, okay.
Got like little sketches and stuff. And the book is kind of like singed around the edges, like it's already been kind of burned a little bit and stuff like that. And the fabric, all interestingly, the rags, they're not, they don't, when you look closer at them, they're not really rags. They're strips of like fairly decent fabric that have been cut into rags.
Interesting.
And are dirty because they've got a bit of dust on them, but they're not like old shitty rags and stuff. They're
like good quality cloth.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll say this here stew smells like you've got some rather exotic spices in there. How do you come by that in a city this densely packed?
Look around you, my lord. There's so many people traveling. There's lots of that stuff on the market these days. That makes a very fine beef stew.
Right.
Do people really leave things here? Why would they leave their belongings?
Sometimes when you got the fanciness of living in a city, maybe people just leave things here.
But if
you're on
you're
the
a
road,
traveler,
They come in and they book in and they sleep in their bed, 3 or 4 to a bed, and then they might get sick and then they have to go off somewhere else, or maybe they race off, or maybe they meet an old friend and go and stay with them, or maybe they win big at one of the gambling tables.
But they leave their belongings. That is quite strange, because that does not really look like
It's only rubbish like this.
I'll sort of gesture back at Lucian and slop beer onto his shoes and say, "Hey lad, let's not harass Susie any longer. She's clearly very busy and run off her feet. Thank you very kindly, madam."
And she says, "Oh, thank you," and she tries to sort of curtsy and wend her way away again through the crowd.
I'm just like staring at you now, and I just like snap the cane out of her way, and I'm really pissed off.
Yeah.
Once she's out of earshot, which is probably within 2 steps because it's that bloody loud in here, I'll gesture for the 2 of the humans to sort of bend down a bit so I can speak quietly to them. I don't know if you noticed, but those there rags, and I'll definitely do inverted commas with my one free hand, certainly not rags. That was good quality cloth that had been cut up into strips to make it look like rags.
Oh, but why would you be cutting up strips?
What I'm going to do, how close am I to like a bar or a stool or something that I could pop down this stew on?
You're right by the bar.
Cool. I will definitely take the stew off of my 2 ales and set it down on the bar.
Yep.
I'll polish off my 2 ales.
Yep.
And then I'll pop them, the empty mugs on the bar as well, and I'll say,
"Yep.
I think we might have to try and investigate what's going on in the kitchen."
I mean, Is it going to be so obvious if we just walk in?
I was thinking potentially we might try and attack this from the rear.
I mean, we can enter, but if they're smart, they would cover their tracks. Perhaps it would be better to catch them in the act. We have a room already.
Well, if you want to wait until nightfall and see if one of us disappears in the night, then by all means. I'll not go quietly.
I don't really want to be here that long, so yes, let's go in through behind.
All right. Let's go.
Aye.
All right. So you're going to try and get outside the tavern and find a way in at the back? Is that what you're thinking to try and do?
That's the intention, yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. So you're going to wait for sort of the appropriate time through the crowd, but you manage to sort of push and shove and bully and intimidate and weasel your way back out of the tavern. And when you're outside, I mean, you've been in there for a bit of time, probably about a good hour and a half. It's getting later in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But you're immediately hit by how cold it is outside. It's not actually that cold, but it's just
it feels cold.
Really hot in there for a second.
Drastic temperature change.
Yeah, massive sort of temperature shock for a second. You sort of, and also the smell, right? Like the smell had changed. Obviously, you'd got used to the smell in there, and it was pretty gross. And you've come outside and it's not there anymore, and you notice the absence of it, but then you can smell it on each other, and it's in your hair and it's in your clothes and stuff, and it's horrible. But you know, as you stumble out, a couple of other patrons stumble in, and sort of keeps going, and they're sort of thumping away.
What it would be were I not a humble road warden to own such a shack. Constant excitement all the time. It's too much for me. Well, let's check out the back.
So yeah, you can wander around. It's a fairly large building, you can see, but you can work your way around the back. There isn't really a yard per se, but there's sort of like a slightly small fenced-in area. And what you notice in the fenced-in area, so there's some of those, those sort of diagonal doors that lead into the cellar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. The traditional ones you see in any kind of setting where there is a cellar. And you see a kind of like large pile of sacks of something piled up out the back of the thing. And what do you this is from when you wander around the back of the building down an alleyway. What else do you do anything? Do you wait there? Do you what sort of?
Are there like a stream of like serving staff coming out to this pile and taking things and going back in?
Basically, yeah. So once you wait for a little bit, there's a back door that swings open, and then a servant will grab a sack or two, and they'll heave them inside, and the same thing will happen. And then even more rarely, but if you're waiting there for maybe about 10 minutes just before you game to make a move, you'll see from one of the upstairs gables of the third floor, a sack will get flung out of there and land on the pile.
The sack that gets thrown out, does it land on top of the pile, or does it sort of hit the side and roll down?
It rolls down a little bit. It sort of nestles about halfway up. The pile's probably high enough to reach pretty close to the second floor. Like it's almost the whole first floor high.
Yeah, right. Is there a way that, and if anyone else has a better idea, then jump in. But is there a way that we could investigate the pile so that we're obscured from the door?
You could probably try and go around to one side of it because it's a big mound and they wouldn't be able to see round one side of it. Yeah. It's sort of, it's a pile shape. So, depending on where you were, they could probably see you. But if you were right round, sort of parallel to the door kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You could be hidden. Yeah.
Cool. Unless anyone's got a better idea, I think maybe investigating the pile from the opposite side to the door so that we don't get spotted.
Yeah, good first thought.
Is the cellar door on that same side of the pile?
No, it's on the other side of the room. It's not right next to the back door. It's sort of further over in the corner of a sort of mini yard, but it's nearer the door.
While you're doing that, I'll wait for a window and I might just pop my head in the cellar.
Alright.
So, but like, as soon as someone enters back into the tavern after
Yep.
picking up a pile, I'm gonna scurry over.
Yep.
Cellar door. I'm not going in. I'm just gonna see if it opens, and if it does, like, breathe and spell.
There's a lock on it.
Yeah.
It creaks open a little bit. You can't get much of a whiff or anything. There is a lock on it. It's the kind of lock that you think you could probably pick.
Do I think I have enough time?
Hard to say. Hard to say right now.
Yeah, I'll give it a quick go. If I don't get it on the first try, I'll give up and move away.
Yep.
So would that be stealth or streetwise or sleight of hand?
Sleight of hand. No.
A note for a man who accused another of being a thief. You sure are quick to lock some picks there.
But it's going to take you longer. Like, you need to spend more time on it, you realise.
Yeah, I'll pull the picks
abandon
out. Yeah, abandon it for now.
Oh, whilst...
you guys are
one
ruffling.
question. Does it seem like it has been opened, or does it seem quite stuck?
No, it looks like it opens fairly freely. Like, it's sort of it's like one of those doors that you can kind of pull it a bit, like a garage door that sort of...
Yeah. I'm just wondering if the lock itself has been like if it's, moving nicely, like where it's been opened and closed reasonably.
It actually looks quite well worn, quite well used. Like, it's fairly frequently opened and locked. But it doesn't look super new. It looks sort of like it's been there for a little. Like, it looks like a well used lock.
Okay.
Decent quality, but not dwarven. You're pretty sure.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah. So while you're checking on that, the other guys, you go rifling through one of the sacks.
Yep.
Now, how many are you opening? What are you sort of looking in?
I guess I'm gonna keep looking through a few until I see something that is truly untoward.
Okay. Can you roll me a D4, please?
Okay.
Cool. You find it. You've got a bag full of similar junk to what you saw before.
Okay.
The rags seem a bit more rag-like. There's like bits of old, like, hanky, and there's a few like food scraps, like hunks of moldy bread, and just a bit more detritusy.
Okay.
There's some broken pen nibs and stuff like that from like quills and stuff like that. A bit more detritusy. This looks a bit more like legitimate garbage.
Yeah.
The rags are they're still a little bit nicer rags, but they're more rag-like, these ones.
Okay. Well, I'll toss it back onto the pile and grab another.
Sure. Another D4. Cool. Same thing. Same kind of shit. Similar kind of stuff. Nothing more unusual. Same kind of thing. There's just bric-a-brac, and again, it's definitely like lived in bric-a-brac. So there's like pen bits and there's little scraps of writing and notes and stuff, but nothing important. That you could see. There's old matchbooks and there's like a little broken strap end from a belt and stuff like that, and some strings and papers and stuff like that.
I'll look at I forgot, what's your character called again, Nick? Huxley. I'll look up at Huxley and say, have you had any luck? I keep finding just nonsense.
Were you looking as well, Huxley?
Let me give it a look.
Roll a D3. Roll one.
Wait, roll 1, 2, 3. A 1.
Okay, so you open a bag and are immediately hit by a disgusting stench.
Oh,
Of kind of like slop and grossness. You realize as you kind of retch that it's kind of like rotten vegetables and rotten food scraps.
well, I found the food for the pigs. Ugh. Can I try another one? Real quick?
Yep. So you're still kind of like "Ugh," a bit. It's a
Yeah.
bit gross and stuff, but it's clearly a proper sack of garbage.
Yeah. Another D3.
Yep.
2.
Okay. Uh, this one's a bit more like the stuff that you saw inside with Susie. It's much newer things. And then at the bottom of the bag, you find a small wooden spinning top. But it's like lacquered red and blue and green, and it looks almost pristine.
That's only
Clearly
throw
like a
this away.
child's toy. Like it's a very unusual thing to find itself here. You could see how it might have got swept up in rubbish, but the other stuff in the bag is all quite new and decent quality, right? The other stuff you
They'd
had
be
was
mad to throw it away, kind of thing.
yeah, someone clearly would miss this.
This is a strange one. Let me look in one more. I'm gonna look in another one.
Okay, another D3.
Come on, give me a 3. Give me a 3, big boy. No.
Similar, still new stuff, and you find like the remnants of a diary. The front cover's missing. The front chunk is missing. But there's a good chunk of stuff written in there up to a date that was about 10 days ago, was the last date. And there's still probably a third of the book to go.
I'm just
The
gonna
first
look
chunk
over.
is missing, but it's all written there in a sort of quite a neat, kempt handwriting. It again doesn't look like something someone would abandon just out of the blue. They still had plenty of room to go in the book.
Yeah, I'm absolutely gonna look over it. Simon, and be like, now this is something strange.
Hey, plenty of life left in that diary.
I presume Lucian's probably over hiding around the back of this thing by then, too.
Yeah.
Or did you want to go back and try the door again, or are you just you're back
Well,
with them
in
now?
between, I would have come back to them, and then I'm assuming
Yeah.
at some point I saw this before heading over again.
Yeah. Do you want to do another lockpick roll for me? Just because I figure you're sort of in between, cycling back and forth.
Yeah.
You've managed to kind of work out a bit of a rhythm to them bringing stuff in to burn.
I got 17 this time.
No, still not quite. Getting there. It's getting looser.
I got a couple of pins. I've just left it.
Yeah. That's it.
Hey, this is a right fine mystery. What does it say? I know some of my letters, but not all of them.
I'll like flick through and get as best an idea as I can.
Yeah. So it's the diary. From reading it, you think it's probably a woman. They'd from about 10 days ago, they were just about to arrive for this, and they were excited to be coming in for the proclamation. They were traveling as part of a caravan from their village to the south. It then details some of the sights of the city they've seen. They visited some of the temples. They went to visit a shop that sells a particular herb that's good for their mother's ailments back in the village they're from. And then there was they just ducked out to get some a particular type of bread they particularly like on the day before, and that's the last entry. They're the things that stand out. You know, you'd have to spend a bit more time really reading to
Nothing.
to really get more out of it.
Yeah, nothing super important, I guess, would be the main
Nothing
takeaway.
nothing really jumps out.
Yeah.
Nothing jumps out. I mean, if you wanted to make a language check, you could.
Maybe a quick little check. Maybe there's something going on that I don't know. Who knows? +5. Let's go. Oh fuck.
Just Just what I
Never
said.
mind. Yep. Okay. It's weird that they threw this away, though.
Hey. Looking at this pile, do I think it's sturdy enough to support my weight if I was to try and scrabble up it and climb into the second floor window?
Yeah, quite probably, yeah.
I guess I'll look
Give it a
around the
bit of
side
thing.
and
You sort of you sort of test it out a little bit, sort of jump up to it a bit, and it shifts a little bit, but it's kind of like wading through garbage bags that are all piled up. You probably could get a bit of height to it, you know.
I'll quickly look around and see if we've timed it right so that there's in the gap between people coming out. And I'll look to the other two and says, "Right, I think it's time we go and investigate what's going on. I'm going to try and scale this pile and get up to the top."
All right. If you need any help, let me know.
Hey.
Right,
So yeah, I'm
give
going to
me
make an attempt.
an athletics check +5
Okay, I am
because you've got the bags, the sort of bags of stuff to help.
cool. I am actually good at athletics, so this should hopefully not be too bad. Oh. Oh.
I
Look
just
at that.
playing around. I've gone over the lockpick again as well.
Yeah, awesome, fantastic, cool. So as you move, the last another server goes inside with a couple of sacks over their shoulder.
Yep.
And as the door swings, you kind of jump onto the mound and scurry to the top, and you just manage to it sort of sinks down to about knee level, but you find you can kind of wade through it pretty easily.
Yep.
And you get up to the bottom of the windowsill on the second floor.
Yep.
Which is open, and you heave yourself up.
Cool.
And just as you kind of get your leg over and you're half in, half out of the window, you look across, and Lucy, and you've nipped over. You've quickly flicked up the first 2 pins because you've got them, and then the next 2 you're just like, oh, it's easy, I've got it now, boom, and and the lock's off as well, and you can open the door.
Okay, I open it. Just first, I wanted to smell.
Yep. It smells kind of like a slightly dusty, stale storeroom.
Okay, I don't get hit with an aroma because Lucian's thinking that if they're butchering people, that's where they'd be doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you haven't found anything like that.
All right.
Yeah.
He's just gonna shut it and snap it, lock shut again, and head back over to them.
All right. Sure.
All right. I'll drop down on the inside of the window and sort of duck my head under the sill so I can't be seen if someone was to come back out.
Yep. As in on the outside or the inside?
On the inside.
On the inside, yeah, cool. So you see there's a nice bright window opposite, down the far end of the building, opposite you.
Yep.
And there's a couple of other windows peeking through from sort of corridor stuff to the side. There's a bit of a grid system with how the stairs are.
Okay.
Because the stairs will come up at one end, obviously, at one side, and you've come up in the middle of the short end of the building.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
If the building's kind of rectangular, so there's sort of rooms off to either side.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if you sort of creep along a little bit, there's stairs going further up to the loft.
Okay.
But all the doors are shut. There's just normal rooms. It looks like a fairly tidy sort of thing, given the state of the pub.
Yeah. Okay.
There's probably 10 to 12 rooms up here, which is fairly standard for this size of building, this size of pub.
Yep. I will poke my head back over the sill and sort of gesture for the other two to join me up here.
Yeah, I will do my best.
I don't need you guys to make athletics checks because you've got Simon can help.
Yep.
Plus he's short. It's you've got a bit more height. You can reach to the window a bit more, and then Simon, you can pull him in.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I assist the
you can
two
use your
humies
helmet
to
to
get
sort
in.
of hook your way in a bit. Huxley.
Pole arm, you mean?
Yeah, your pole arm. You can kind of hook your way in a bit and just lever your way up and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, perfect. You are now on the second floor.
Right. Well, we best find where those bags were coming from.
looked like a third-story window. And
That's
we
right.
do
They were
have a
going out
room
of
on
the
the third
gable
story.
of the third floor. Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we try going up to the third floor immediately? Don't bother with these other peasant rooms.
Yeah, seems reasonable to me.
Let's go.
All right. Cool. Yep. You walk down the corridor. You don't see anyone. You can obviously hear the surging sound, and the smell of inside's pretty strong again up here too. Some of the smoke's coming upstairs, but it's a bit better because there's some windows open and stuff. There's a bit of a breeze and that. It's very loud still, obviously. So you don't need to really sneak necessarily. But you make it to the stairs. They're a bit more rickety going up. They're a lot narrower, really only one person wide. But they lead up into the loft.
Cool. All right.
Who's going first?
I think looking at the gangly, tall road warden and the lithe-looking nobleman, I think I'll go first.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay.
Okay.
So you climb your way up the rickety stairs, and they kind of creak and shudder. If you remember, Ben, very much like going up to the bell tower at Perth Mod, like the top
yeah.
extra step,
Yeah.
like very creaky, but obviously just really narrow, but like not much of a rail as well. Like it's barely it's sort of 2 steps on from a ladder kind of thing. But you get there, and it comes very much out to sort of like a flat hole in the floor rather than coming full up like a staircase.
Yeah.
Kind of, you clamber up, and it's sort of in the light because there's only the gables that are semi-open. It's a bit more dim up here. But there's definitely the sort of stink of stale sweat because they've obviously been packing him in up here. Because this is where Blimbo mentioned, he was sleeping 5 to a bed. But they've been sleeping 3 and 4 humans to a bed up here. So a lot of this is where the majority of people will be staying, not in the rooms downstairs.
Yeah.
And you can see there's like bunks and crude cots on the floor and like piles of like sleeping blankets and shit sort of stacked up everywhere and laid out everywhere across the kind of open plan. It's a whole open plan room.
Yeah, so more like a sort of common room than a
Yeah, very much so. It's just a big open dormitory kind of thing.
Yeah, okay. Are there people up here, or is it pretty quiet at the moment?
It's hard to say, but as your eyes adjust, actually you're a dwarf, so you can see in the dark pretty well.
Yeah.
There's a few bodies here and there, and as you as it's a bit quieter and stuff, you can sort of hear the sort of deep rhythmic breath of sleeping.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe 4 or 5 people around the whole room.
Sure. Okay.
And this is obviously it's sort of almost the same size as the ground floor open plan, right? Because it's the whole top loft, and the second story and the third story actually overhang a bit, so that if anything, there's possibly even slightly more floor space up here than there is downstairs.
Yeah. Okay. Am I able to make my way over to where the sort of the window where we saw the sack being hurled out before?
Well, you'd think so. But as you climb up onto the floor and you get there and you walk over to that direction, it's just like there's the roof. It's like this sort of sloping side of the roof meets you, and there isn't really. It just looks like the roof.
Warlock magics. What?
There's no windows up here.
There's some of the gables are open. There's a few spots. There's definitely windows open, and you're certain that's where you saw it was coming out of. Like it's isn't weird Cthulhu shit. Like it's just you're like that's what like, but yet you walk over to where that would be, and it's just a sloping roof.
Huh. Huh. Interesting.
Hey. Quite interesting.
That is perturbing.
I'll with a knuckle. I'll start sort of rapping on the ceiling and sort of tapping to see if I can hear like a false wall or anything.
Is anyone else doing anything?
Would I be able to use like my wizard apprentice skill to like sit and focus and see if I can see any illusion magic or anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just trying to think if there's something I can do to like appraise something, but I don't know if that's
23.
Yeah. So you kind of sit down in the gloom, and you sort of you sniff the air a bit, and you sort of hold your hands out and feel stuff. You finger some of the symbols sewn on the inside of your robe, and you flick through a book, and you can tell there is something unusual going on here. You feel the sort of familiar, sort of subtle hints of like the sort of almost static electricity and ozone lingering in the air around this spot.
Would I have any capability of knowing what to do?
What spells do you know?
I know enchant and sleep.
So you could potentially, you think that maybe some kind of like there's clearly some kind of illusion or some kind of magical field or some kind of, or it could be an enchantment itself, right? It's hard to know whether they've enchanted something to actually physically be here, whether it's a very, very convincing illusion and it's not actually there at all, but you're feeling like it is because it's just that convincing. It convinces all your senses that it's there.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines, right? Perhaps an enchantment, your own enchantment, could like pierce it, right? Perhaps if you enchanted something, you could sort of enchant something with a piercing to break through this enchantment or break through this wall or whatever it is, disperse it. You think that might, using the same kind of magic that you suspect it might be, may be able to do it.
I might then. I'm assuming I have like some sort of dagger on me.
Yep. You're gonna eating knife.
Yeah, I'll enchant that.
Perfect.
Do I need to cast the spell?
You will need to cast the spell, yes.
How do I do this?
So it is the incantations skill.
Yeah.
Plus a d20, and it will cost you 3 stamina to cast it.
Okay. So 29.
Oh,
Perfect. So
And
you sit
I
there.
I lose 3 stamina.
You lose 3 stamina.
Yeah.
And you.
So yeah, I enchant my knife
enchant
and I'll
your
walk
knife.
over
Incredible,
to the.
flawless.
That's it. And all of it, like as you do so, you sort of you hum under your breath, and you sort of draw in sort of the weave, and you flick through the book to find your scroll, because magic spells are really secretive in the world of Warlock. They're not just something that people can tinker with, and you've got all these sort of false notes and stuff hinting, and it's sort of written in a cipher, and you sort of memorize it, and you have to say it because you've worked out that these guys aren't idiots, you know. I mean, the road warden's probably not going to do anything, but the dwarf, you're not sure with how much you trust or not. So you sort of mutter the spell under your breath very carefully so other people don't hear it.
I've been doing while I've been like sitting down on the ground and they're searching around. I'm just like trying to do it quietly.
That's it. But as that happens, you guys, the other two of you, feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up, just like instantly, and that kind of crackle intensifies. And then you draw out your eating knife, and it's just kind of like glowing with a sort of dull humming purple.
Yeah. So I just walk past them up to the roof, and I put the blade to the like above my head to the sheets, and I drag it down.
And it literally is just kind of like running it, almost like if it was like a bed sheet or something. It just sort of like this sort of bright white light flashes for a second, and then just sort of almost like undoing a zip.
Yeah.
And it just peels down slowly. And it kind of, before your eyes, in front of both of you, it just kind of like seems to shimmer for a second, and it's there. And then the enchantment's gone, and a thin sheet of fabric falls to the ground. So it was an enchanted. They'd put up like a false wall, just something thin, But then someone's enchanted it to look like a wall, and to be a bit of roof, and you've sort of pierced that with your dagger.
And on the other side is what? Just the window, or is there another room?
No. So there's a little section of roof. It was only a small section. Like it was maybe I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 meters square. There's like a little section of gable, but there's just filth and stacks of just shit and books and clothes and backpacks and almost possibly even weapons and just like all sorts of stuff. And there's this hunched creature getting it, ripping fabric, shoving things into sacks, and then when it gets a full sack, it throws it out the window.
What sort of creature are we talking about?
So as the two humans, you're sort of squinting a bit in the dark, even though it's right by the window, because it's right by the window too, so it's that shock of light and dark kind of thing. The dwarf, you instantly recognize it is in fact a goblin crouched over his missives, stuffing a sack full, and he's sort of half muttering to himself. He goes, "Yes, this trinket will do nicely." Because every now and then he picks a nice thing out, and he seems to sort of shove it into like a pocket of his own sack over his shoulder. But most of the time he's got like a tunic, and he'll pull up like a small ratty tunic, and then with just sort of long fingernails, he'll just tear it down into shreds, and then shove them in a bag, and then he'll look and find a book, and he'll just like hold part of the book over a candle to burn it a little bit, and then he'll rip it in half and shove it in the bag.
So I'll tap my cane on the ground and like cock my head at the goblin.
The goblin kind of like spins suddenly and sees you, because he didn't know that the enchantment's gone. He sort of thought he was impervious, thought he couldn't see you at all.
What do we have here?
Filthy green skin is what we've got here.
And it sort of shrieks, and it pulls out from his belt this kind of long, cruel, sharp, wicked-looking knife with notches in the blade. And I'll get you guys to roll initiative.
Ooh.
All right, how does this work?
How does this work?
That's what I'm just reminding myself. Sorry, guys. Apologies.
I feel like it's I think I remember reading it was like a D6 or something like that.
I think it's I think if it's obvious they go first, then they go first. Otherwise, you just roll a D6.
Yeah.
Gains milestone initiatives, they would take an action with one of their combatants, then the player gets taken action with one of their characters, followed by the gains with the second enemy, and so on until everyone has taken an action.
Correct. Yes. We'll do a roll off, because you've surprised him, but he's far enough away that he's been able to ready this knife and kind of jump to it. Okay. So we'll both roll off. Whoever wants to roll can roll.
Someone else can roll. I won't take over.
Yeah, I'll roll with my pole arm. 1d6. Oh, yeah, fuck.
Oh, get out of here, green skin.
And on me, we would have got ones for sure.
100%.
So one of you will go first, then the goblin will act, and then the next two of you will go. The way it works is it's a fairly open slather in terms of initiative, in that it can be flexible.
Yeah.
So it seems similar to Star Wars, in that you just pick someone from your side.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of initiative slots rather than initiative. Yeah.
Oh, we'd love to see it. I wouldn't mind going first, because I want to use my pole arm.
Sure. I mean, you've got the range, so by all means.
Yeah. So
you're also, the way combat works, so just broke in terms of ranges and stuff. It's quite vague. It's like there's like close combat. Nearby is like the same room. Far is like in a different, or it's like close is in the same room, nearby is in a different room, far is like on the same street, and distant is on another street, right?
Yeah.
You can technically, in terms of a move action on your turn, you can move one, you can change that distance value relative by one stage in a turn, is what it's thought of. So if you were miles, like if you were at the end of a street to someone, you could sprint down the street and get closer to them by one factor.
Right. It's like 2D20, where they have like zones of like
kind of, yeah.
You're really far away versus like you're kind of far away versus you're not that far away.
You guys are all in what I'd call close, in that if you want to move and attack, you can. Technically, you can only do one action on a turn. But in this instance, when you're in the same space relative to the target, moving to attack them is an action because it's kind of in a round of 4 or 5 seconds per guy. You can cross a room in 4 or 5 seconds and swing a sword at someone easy.
Yeah, okay.
Right, but it's like if you start, but again, it's more narrative, it's more fluid. If you've got a cool thing you want to do, tell me what that is, and we'll work out how it's going to fit into the scene.
I will immediately call back to my training with my polearm of stabbing a lot.
Perfect.
And I grab it and I go, stand back, I've got this one. And I lunge at it with my polearm, go for a nice stab.
Perfect.
An opposed
So
skill test,
you
yes.
roll with your polearm skill, +5 because you are attacking.
So I'll do 20 plus polearm is 8, plus another 5. Okay. Oh, that's not as good as I thought it would be.
It's not. So you lunge at the goblin, and the goblin nimbly kind of like dashes aside and slashes at you with its sort of cruel, wicked knife, which is going to deal some damage.
Yikes.
Because it won the fight.
Yep.
It deals 1 stamina damage to you. So it just kind of like slashes across your armor. Doesn't do a lot.
Oh.
Minimum is 1, so it doesn't matter what you're wearing. That's it. And so while it's got that, it's going to take its a chance to go for you again.
Of course he fucking would. Go on then, punk. So without my +5 this time.
That's it.
Ooh!
Nice. You win this time.
Excellent.
You win this time. So he's got in close, and you just kind of like staunch him off with a haft, so you can get a good chop at him with it. So you roll. So your polearm damage.
2d6 plus 2.
2d6 plus 2. Yeah.
Let's go. 2d6.
Nice.
Deal
So
8 damage.
slash down into the goblin like hard into its ribs, and it just like crunches into the ground and kind of like quite quickly looks pretty frantically around at options to try and get away. It sort of like rushes over to the window, but it's one of your guys' turns.
Nowhere to hide now, little goblin.
Unless you've got something you want to do, Lucian, I'm happy to go next.
I can try and put it to sleep.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I'll since they've seen my magic dagger anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and flick open to the book
Yep.
to where I've encoded the sleep spell, and
Perfect.
it's a nearby, so I'll try and put him to sleep.
Perfect.
It's a 20.
Nice. That goes off.
Yeah.
What's the cost for it?
3.
Stamina? Very perfect. So you lose another 3 stamina.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's 1d6 rounds, I think.
Yeah, great. But I mean, so I'm going to assume, so you sort of draw the gestures, whisper the words, hum this kind of rhythmic sound that rolls along and rolls along. And the two of you that are in the room, you sort of almost feel this kind of like buzzing in your ears, and things kind of go a bit underwatery, and you get a bit woozy. But as you snap back to it, and the goblin's just like lying there on the ground asleep.
Yeah, okay. It's easy
Very
that.
well
Well
done.
So it's a 1d6.
So roll a d6 for me.
Yeah, 1d6 minutes.
Yeah, cool.
So we don't know that, but
Yeah, you're not sure. I mean, you probably get a sense of the fact that you maybe I didn't hit it that hard with the sleep, so it might not be asleep for long.
the spell hasn't taken full hold, so we should probably act quickly.
Spell?
Could we just kill it?
Well, how did it get this bric-a-brac? Is it the culprit, or is it a charge?
Do goblins often use magic? I've
So
never heard of
just
a
some
goblin using magic.
lore stuff for the world a bit.
Mhm.
anyone and anything can, in theory, do magic, right? Obviously, magic is pretty rare. It's pretty low magic in the sense of wizards are scary and concerning because it's very, very powerful and very, very misunderstood and very, very secretive, right? But in theory, if anyone can read the scroll and commit their life force to doing it, anyone can do magic, even goblins. There's different styles of magic. Priests have the same thing, and it costs priests stamina, but they call out in divine favor in the same way. So it's not unheard of for goblins to do magic. This seems a pretty powerful spell, though.
Yeah. Okay.
This is pretty thing,
I-
and wizards usually have all sorts of magical symbols on them as part of their need to sort of control magical energies.
Yeah, mine's just reversed.
Yeah.
My cloak.
That's it. Goblins are intelligent, sentient creatures who live in society, and in some parts of the kingdom, they even live alongside humans and dwarves to an extent. They're not looked on favourably. They're very much second-class citizens if they do. But they are very rarely in charge. They are usually following someone else. They're very good henchmen. The great Warlock himself forged a goblin army, by uniting tribes to help fight in the Black Road War and such.
I say we tie him up.
Aye, that's not a bad idea. And whilst he's unconscious, we should have a route around in this, see if we can't find any more clues.
Give me a second. I'd like to start ripping up that blanket that he just tore through. The one that had the illusion magic on it. Might use that to bind him. Or it.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I have to roll to bind him up.
Nah, it's like a decent sheet of good quality, sturdy fabric. You can quite comfortably cut it into strips and make decent bindings, well within the time the goblin would be asleep, and tie him securely. Even if you just tie a fuckload of knots around him, like it's.
Yeah.
I mean, goblins have got long, dexterous fingers with long, sharp nails and teeth. But again, if you hog tie him properly, it's not going to be able to do much.
Hell yeah.
But as you do that, he starts rousing. Because it's going to take you a minute or so. So he says, "What's going on? What you doing? What's happening? How'd you find me? They said I was safe here, but then you hit me with the big fucking axe thing, and I was just and his eyes is clearly kind of panicking and pretty disorientated.
Who did you talk with here there? Are you talking to someone that you shouldn't be? Someone telling you to take things from here, huh?
No.
Then why are you taking
that's
things?
That's how I get paid. I get paid by finding nice things that I want to keep. But the rest of it's all rubbish, they say. They say the owners don't need it anymore. And so my job's rip it up, put it in bags and throw it out the window.
Who's saying
The
this to you?
boss says that's he does. The boss downstairs. Oh, yes, he does. And all the little trinkets there just for me. Yes, just me pay. And you come and assault me while I'm doing my job. What's that about?
And how often does he come in here?
Oh, he doesn't come in here at all. Oh, no. No, the
Then
boss don't
where
come up
do
from
you
downstairs.
get
Why would the boss come up from downstairs? No.
Where do you get the trinkets then?
Well, others dump the stuff through. Every now and then, there'll be a new pile of things pushed in this little room here, and I make me nest, and then I rip up the stuff and I throw it out the window. And sometimes at night I'll climb out the window and go for a bit of roam. But us goblins see we aren't very welcome in this city here by you tall folk. As he sort of squints maliciously at all of you.
Well, I don't think we look too kindly upon those who take the items of others without,
Like I said, and like the boss said, these people don't need be needing their things anymore. Oh, no, they don't. Not where they're going.
And where are they
Sorry,
going
go
then?
back a second there.
Maybe
What
going
do you mean?
downstairs to see the boss.
You ever seen anyone come back after seeing the boss?
You wouldn't like to see what they look like when they finish seeing the boss. More like you wouldn't want to smell what they smell like once they finish seeing the boss.
I'm gonna, as he's bound at the moment, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna put my foot on his chest and push him down onto the ground.
Sure.
Alright, that's quite enough of your nonsense now. Answer us straight, and maybe we'll leave you bound here, just to fend for yourself. If you can't answer us straight, you might find that we're far less accommodating. And I'd like to do an intimidate.
Please.
Would I know if, because I broke someone's spell, would the caster know?
Probably not. Not for this type of thing because it was an enchantment placed on the object.
Yeah.
And so now the object and the fact that you're already feeling your knife start to sort of lose its enchantment, which is normal. That kind of for that level of spell. For this level of spell, this would have been a big ritual.
Yeah.
A very powerful magic user would have cast this, but the object itself becomes its own artifact at that point, and so it's they've sort of created a semi-permanent artifact.
Yeah.
So no, they wouldn't know. If it was like an illusion that they were maintaining, absolutely. But given that they've just enchanted it with a sort of like disguise, no.
It turned it into a magical sheet, basically.
Basically, yeah, that's it, yeah. Add 5 to that, so 20.
Cool. Yep.
It's contested because
Yep.
you get the bonus of the fact that he is tied up and also like pretty fucked up. Like
Yeah.
let's put it this way: the goblin was not gonna keep fighting because you nearly killed him with that shot. Like that's like stamina. He's not at stamina many. He's at stamina very little. Yeah, and as we saw with Ben's combat with earlier, it's very easy once someone's at 0 or at low to just kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you win. You
Cool.
intimidate him. He sort of stops cackling and kind of eyes your sword, his sort of beady yellowed eyes kind of darting around the room, keep flicking to the windowsill. But also he's tied up pretty tight.
Now, you're going to answer our questions, aren't you? Nod if you're going to assent.
He nods.
Right, and I glance over my shoulder at the other two and sort of gesture my head at the goblin. I'll leave with you then.
I'm just trying to think what a good question is here.
By downstairs, do you mean down in the kitchen or in the bar, or are you referring to the cellar?
Oh, it's lower than the cellar. I mean downstairs.
And how do we get there? Through the cellar or through the kitchen?
I think both ways get down there. I think you get into the cellar through the kitchen. But there might be another way down, I don't know. I've actually not been down there with the boss. I was put in here from outside. I was snuck in a wagon and they stuck me up here to do this.
What's
But the rest of me boys, they might be downstairs with the boss still, see?
your boss's name?
Oh. And he gets this kind of like look over him that's a fervent kind of semi-cult like kind of response. He's a great Moor, he is. You could say he's a great munchin Moor, couldn't you? Yeah.
Well, perhaps we should go down and have a chat with your boss.
Perhaps you might. But I prefer, as much as I'd be very grateful to see my boss, I'd prefer it if maybe you didn't take me down quite like this, or maybe you let me have a bit of a rest. Yeah, see, that smart's something much when you whack me with that great big chopper there.
Never asked for you to take a rest. Now come on then. Shall we bring him along with us? I've gone full Irish.
You have gone full Irish.
All right, we've got the full gamut of vague European accents.
I don't even think we should bring him. I think we should stuff some rags in his mouth and tuck him in the corner here.
All right.
That's kinder than what I had thought, but yes, that'll do.
All right.
I'll sort of
Okay.
narrow my eyes at Lucian.
I mean, goblins are enemies as well. Like, don't like it's
Yeah.
they're not. When I say they're sentient, intelligent, that are acceptable in some places, they're also goblins, right?
Sure,
Like they are
yeah.
also
Fucking
existential
dicks.
threats to people too. But it's fine, you know. Yeah, that's it. Okay, well, you kind of you managed to shove his mouth full of rags.
Yep.
While he's kind of frothing out a bit about his master, so that he doesn't bite you with his long, gross, pointed fish-like teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Hate him.
And okay, cool, you do that.
Whilst once he's sort of trussed up and gagged, I'm just gonna like with my toe sort of just like poke through the pile of crap, just see if anything, I don't know, catches my eye very quickly.
Yeah, chuck us a spot test, please.
Sure. What have I got?
The rest of you can do that too if you like. You're still looking at stuff.
I'm far more interested in just getting downstairs as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I am a bit concerned about going downstairs.
Yep.
There,
Um,
spellcaster that could do this is probably quite strong.
You see a Ben, you see a dagger, an interesting dwarven dagger. It's like a sax, so that's like one of the sort of very unique shape of knife.
Okay.
Very clearly dwarven.
Yeah.
It looks, and it's really fine work, really nice kind of work on it, sort of thing. And it looks very much like. I'll drop a picture into the chat if I can. To sort of like, it looks a lot like that as a knife, but it looks very familiar to a knife that you remember Bron having and really enjoying.
Right. Okay. Right.
So you pick that up.
Yep.
And tuck it in your belt.
Cool. Yep.
Or whatever. But yeah, you can. Where do you go next?
Let's head downstairs.
I
Shall we make our way through the kitchen? Because I think that's going to be quicker than trying to get in through the cellar, maybe.
I mean,
Or-
Lucian has already technically unlocked it. I know
Oh,
that
you're right.
you relocked it, but I imagine now that you've got the trick of it, it'd be easy enough
if
to.
Lucian wanted to go back in, I'd let you just go back in basically, because you've done that lock now. You've had 3 goes at it. You've really got it nicely. Like you could just unlock it effectively. I might make you roll, and as long as you don't roll a crit 1, and like a crit fail, that would be like someone comes out and you break your lockpick in it or something.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy for you to do that and just roll a 20 and make, as long as you don't roll a 1. A suggestion.
Mhm.
It is 11.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's more story, but we haven't got there yet.
Yep.
There's not loads more, but there's not enough to really push through tonight, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like it'll be too late if we push through tonight. So I'm
Yeah,
sort of
okay.
saying we might need to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could just leave it for another time.
I'd be happy to leave it for another time if that's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely,
perhaps we could even do it next week or something, or 2 weeks. I don't know what the roster's like. And maybe, because also we're at a point where if Steph's feeling better next time, maybe she could bring her character in and join in again.
Yeah.
Should be
Okay.
cool.
Yes.
It's a good time to find her down there or something
That's
like that.
exactly sort of what I thought. We can bring her character in nicely at this point, and we've paused. You're on the right track. You're on the trail.
Fucking goblins.
So it's kind of like a fantasy world plus Conan.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Like a bit more like medieval fantasy
That's it.
period.
It's the way I kind of read it was it's a bit sort of like it's very Warhammer, but it's a bit more English. Like it's a bit rather than Germany. Like it's it's a bit more Englandy rather than Germanic. But yeah, it's a little bit Conan. Yeah,
Just because of how like magic comes at a cost and stuff like
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I prefer that kind of setting where like magic's not free kind of thing.
Yes, me too. That's partly why I really like this book. When I read about it online and like saw it and stuff, I thought actually that's a really cool vibe. As much as the setting is pretty limited in what it gives you, I also enjoy that because it means you can just put lots into it.
Yeah, you
yeah,
can do
definitely.
whatever you want.
But I quite like the magic is very free form too. Like if you I like that it's set in written and it's quite structured, but you could, as a wizard, you could probably try and come up with your own spell.
Yeah.
But you'd have to work out what you want it to do, and it could be quite expensive in stamina to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
that was
That's
really
all right.
fun. I enjoyed that.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. I hope you did. I know there was that first sort of chunk started a bit slow with you all individually, but I hope that didn't slow things down too
Oh,
much.
No, I think
liked
it
a lot, yeah.
adds to the immersion. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that
Thanks,
thoroughly.
guys. I think it works. I don't hate the system. I think it's quite good to flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never run it before, so like it's just
It's not like it's got like set rules and like numbers and stuff, but it's not overly restrictive
no.
like some other settings can be, or
That-
like
yeah.
systems.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Okay, well, we'll pause here. I'll note down where we got to, and then we will continue this adventure at another point if that suits everyone. And as I say, we can most likely include Steph next time
Yeah.
if she's
Sounds
feeling
good.
better.
Sounds good
Yeah.
to me.
Sick.
Thanks for playing.